live. Jesus. Oh no.
Sorry.
Hey.
First of all, gamers, thank you for showing up tonight on PM the PM. On this tragic day, to say the least. I know a lot of us are grieving right now. So I'm sorry for the somber mood to start the show. But I am glad to see all these familiar faces, because times like these, we do have to gather together and make sure we're supporting each other. I mean, oh man. Listen.
Shame.
I didn't know I was going to start the show tonight. Again, devastating news today. So what I did was I actually went to one of the greatest performers of our lifetime, musical genius, an amazing lyricist who his words spoke to me today from one of his most famous songs, and that's "Let's Go Crazy." And of course, I'm talking about the late great Prince. God rest his soul. And I repurposed some of his words today to kind of open the show up because I thought they were appropriate. So I'm going to try to get through this. Just bear with me, guys, gamers. Appreciate you all being here, though. Again,
I'm sorry, Paul.
Yeah, no, it's okay. I'm just gonna.
I know this is important.
It's gonna take a minute here. So here we go. Dearly beloved gamers, we are gathered here today to get through this thing called delays. Disappointing word, delays. It means forever. And that's a mighty long time. But I'm here to tell you, there is something else. Game Pass. A world of never-ending gaming where you can always have fun. Day or night. Oh, man. Just hit home today when I was thinking about this. And again, I'm just glad we're all here together tonight on PM and the PM on a Thursday evening when we didn't expect to be here. These unexpected times. But they bring people closer together, and that's the most important thing. And I know we all have each other, and we don't know when we're going to come out of this. We don't know how things are going to get better, but I know tomorrow the sun's going to rise. Oh, God. I'm so sorry. So sorry. Oh, man. But I know we're going to come out of this stronger. I know Phil and the team are going to come out of this stronger. I know Xbox, Microsoft, going to be better for all of this. I just know it. So please just continue to keep each other in our thoughts and prayers as we move forward through this time. We're all going to get there, and got something to celebrate coming up, and that's the showcase. So look, morning's done. I've been through this all day, sitting here. Trying to be better about this. It's going to be a long process.
Are you undressing like right now? Is this part of the grieving process?
Yeah, but I'm not going to get naked for all of you.
Okay. Not like Master Chief.
No, not like Master Chief. And we're not going to talk about that travesty either. So look, it's time. It's time, folks. We got to talk this stuff out.
Whew, man, that's
like
making
Prince
me emotional, man.
Like Prince said, we got something else to talk about here, and that's called Game Pass. We're going to go into speculation town. We're going to figure out how they're going to fix this, or what they can do to attempt to fix this. So tonight, on PM in the PM, that's right, May the 12th, a day of infamy for many of us, Starfield fans, Bethesda fans, Redfall fans. We're going to try to set things right. but we're not going to sugarcoat things. We're not going to fall on any swords for Phil and Xbox, because there's definitely some criticism to be placed. But tonight we are going to have a good time no matter what, because that's what we do here on Pong and the Mav.
Amen.
PM and the BM. So Mav, how the hell are you, brother? You obviously know I'm grieving over here, but how the hell you been today? And how's your week been? And what have you been playing? What do you got to say tonight to all the people who've gathered here with us to get through this, man? Get through this tough time.
Sometimes it's hard to have faith in God, Howard, but we can make it through. That faith shall be restored one day, maybe in 2023, maybe on June 12th, when we see the light. Who knows? Now, I did have a revelation just now that the nightmare that I thought I had was actually true when you showed up delivering a sermon. So it was very interesting. I woke up and I was like, holy cow, this is real. And not just Starfield, but also Redfall delayed to 2023. That is 2 games. That is a huge punch to the face all at once. And it has been a lot of talk today. There's a lot of doomsday out there right now. There's a lot of rational conversation out there as well. There's a lot of sugarcoating out there as well. And I think we're going to maybe cover a little bit of all the bases here with a little bit of speculation and talk about possibilities and what's going on and what caused this and what can they do to fix this. And also, will everything be okay at the end of the day, you know? So it's going to be, man, it's going to be a fun, overall though, for real though, I'm good today. You know what I mean? This is like, it sucks. It sucks as a gamer to have, for me, the 2 games I was looking forward to most this year both get delayed in the same announcement, right? I mean, that's pretty like, that's never happened before, I don't think. But at the end of the day, like, everything's going to be all right for me. And I think that it's video games, and we all have to remember this, you know, to a point. But also, we have to also keep things and we should expect a certain level of information and quality and consistency, as Phil said himself today in his response to this message. So, man, it's going to be an interesting show. I think it's definitely a different show than I was anticipating having today. But, you know, the show must go on, and there's going to be a lot of stuff to talk about. And as much as this sucks right now, things will get better, you know. But, man, the 2023 is going to be, or 2022 is going to be a interesting year for the last 6 months. So we're going to see what's going to happen. But Pong, besides this, you've been dealing with some other chaos behind the scenes, man. Like,
so real life work. We had huge storms come through. Yeah, we had huge storms come through last night, and first big ones of the year. And actually, my work got hit even harder than I did out here, because I'm about 45 minutes away from work. And so knocked out the power, knocked out the internet. So I was dealing with that this morning on top of, like I said, I was getting ready. And then I was dealing with that because I got word that we didn't have any power internet at work. So then I started to call people, started dealing with that. So I'm trying to figure all that out. And then we just called it and said, everybody who can work from home. And so then I got finally settled in, logged on to Twitter, and I am instantly bombarded with that. And so, yeah, this has been one hell of a day. Like I said, not the Thursday I was expecting at all, but this is where we are. Again, nobody can ever say this industry does not keep things interesting. Okay. That pure and simple. This, like I said, this is the most exciting entertainment industry in the world to me, and to a lot of us out here, and even to a lot of people that are in the chats that enjoy this hobby. And this is one of the reasons why this has gotten so big, that there's always news happening. Some of it unexpected of it. You know, some of it not good, but it's always something to talk about. And so the minute I sat down and saw that, of course, I was bummed. Plus, I was dealing with other stuff. So I've got those mixed emotions. Then boom goes live. Yeah. Of course, I'm at home today, so I'm like, well, shit, I gotta talk about this because I need to get some stuff off my chest. But I was so, I had so many different things going on in my head. I hadn't really sat and thought about it. Now, as the day has gone on, we've all been talking to DMs. Gotten much better. Talked about it. Gotten some things kind of figured out here and kind of got my thoughts straight. But yeah, what a day. Again, this industry is something else. We had other news go on this week. You and I were talking about other stuff that we were going to bring up tonight. But man, I mean, how can we not start here, Mav? So again, for anybody living underneath the rock, anybody who doesn't know, this morning, Bethesda put out an official tweet delaying both Starfield and Redfall till next summer. Or did they say early next year? I forget which one. I don't have.
They said the first half of next year.
First half of next year. Thank you. So first half of next year, both being delayed, like Mav said. Which, again, how many games do you have from? Yeah, it's strange to see both in one shot. But anyways, so they put out the industry standard tweet today, which we could talk about a little bit, Mav, whether or not you think it was right or wrong that they did that, or they should have had a little something more. Now, everybody needs to remember that Phil Greenberg, a lot of people from Xbox are out there at Bethesda. They've been posting pictures, happy pictures of presumably in the Bethesda theater, probably watching.
Looked at the stuff.
Yeah, looked at the stuff of what they had, out to dinner. So, for me, like I said, it's industry standard. So it's not like they did something abnormal. It's not like they did something totally not right by putting out the tweet. But for this one, considering that it's Starfield, considering they had been posting all these tweets out there, could it have been a little bit more? Yeah, I think it could have been. I think you could have had Phil and Todd record something a little bit more personal. And I think that it could have been a little bit done differently, handled a little bit differently, but there's a lot of interesting stuff to dive into here, Mav. I don't know where this is going to go. Chat, we are all good. I will be certainly looking at the chat as well. If you guys bring up some interesting points or topics, we will definitely go left and talk about things tonight, because again, this is a huge topic. This is not a small thing.
Yes.
So for any of you that are, already burnt out on this topic, I'm sorry to say, but we got to cover it. Mav and I got a lot of thoughts to get out here. I got out some on Boom. Mav hasn't had a chance to speak on it yet, but there's a lot of things that we can dive into. There's some speculation town. There's some straight up facts. There's some criticism to be handed out. There's some hope to try to be found in all of this as well. So this is where PM and the PM is going to be tonight. And if we get through it all, and we got some other things we can talk about as well. Nothing earth-shattering by any stretch of the imagination like this, but we definitely have some interesting things out there as well. So buckle up, buckle in. It's going to be a good time. I am a little disappointed. I'm not going to lie. I try to hide it. My hype for the showcase is down. And let's start there, man, first of all.
Well, let's start right at the top. Real quick, before we get into that, let's get to a couple of these super chats, just so they don't have to keep waiting. But
go ahead.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Drawn TJ hit us earlier with a massive $20 super chat to start the show. Again, John TJ, your support is always very much appreciated, dude. Amazing. He says, "Hi guys, Xbox needs to put Gotham Knights and Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown into Game Pass to make up for this. And one way to blow us away would be announced Rocksteady and NetherRealm Studios have officially joined Xbox." Well, that would definitely do something. I don't necessarily think that's going to happen with what happened earlier with Crystal Dynamics, but yeah, that would be huge. Gotham Knights, Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown. I could potentially see something like that though. John TJ also with the $5 super chat says, "Yeah, it sucks, but just think we got Forza Motorsport, and next year is going to be swamped with games. Maybe. We'll see. Who knows now? Who knows whatever was slated for 2023 when that's going to arrive." John TJ also with a very much appreciated $5 super chat again says, "To be honest, I kind of saw this coming. No gameplay, barely know anything about it. They better show gameplay of it." They did say that there's in-depth gameplay coming soon. So yeah, they better, right? Because they just put that out there. All right, Pong, take it away.
No problem. So, as I was saying, let's just start right at the top, man. Let's start with the immediate kind of impact, right? Um, with it coming this literally 1 month to the day before the showcase, man. 1 month to the day they make this announcement after having all these video docs and everything else. All you had to do, again, we talked about it. Look at the advertising for the showcase.
Yeah.
That is Starfield's planet.
Yep.
That is being eclipsed by the Xbox symbol. Everything screams that Starfield was on track and ready to rock and roll. Okay. All the marketing that is normally done by Bethesda, this is how they do it. And it lines up when they are going to be on time with the game. All of a sudden, we get this announcement. So, Matt, start with you, brother. For the showcase now, they came out and said, can't wait to deep dive these games and show you what we've been working on soon. What does this mean for the showcase? Number one, from a hype factor. Have they lost some of the hype going into the showcase? And number two, are you expecting any parts of the showcase to now change or be altered, not altered, but changed or moved around in any kind of way, shape, or form, swapped out, swapped in, any of that stuff? Do you expect them to reformat what they had planned for the showcase now based upon this announcement?
Ooh, that's a tough question because
I know.
I expected Redfall and I expected Starfield gameplay at the showcase. So when I see Todd Howard's statement, he says, we're going to get gameplay soon. I feel like if they show some badass gameplay, in-depth gameplay, it would help soften the blow a little bit of this. And still, at that point, people can regain some of that hype and be like, okay, this makes sense. I want this game to be as amazing as it could because it looks fire, right? Now, if it wasn't all that in a bag of chips, and that's why they delayed it, then who knows? Then potentially we could see it later, maybe reworking some things, and they weren't happy with what they had to show for the showcase when they took a look at everything. I don't know. There's a lot to think about with this, but they were so confident with the Starfield release date. Like, that is, like, out of all the delays that have happened, this is the one that I have been the most surprised about, period, ever. Just because, like, knowing Todd Howard and how they operate and, how confident he was in his statements and stuff to announce the date that soon in advance and then to come out a good 6 months before it's supposed to release. In fact, today is like just 1 day over the 6 month mark from release date, to then go and say we're delaying it into 2023. Now, they didn't give us a window. They gave us like a first half window. So they didn't even say like first quarter, right? So that is like also like very, like, I wonder what's going on there. Because I think if they said like, if they come out and said like February or gave it a new date or new month, people would be like, okay, it's a couple months. That's not a huge deal. Like if it was like 2 months or whatever, I think people are like, okay, it's not delayed too long. But they said first half of 2023 and it was 2 games. So with that, I'm looking at the showcase, like, because this is getting back to your question. It depends on what else do they have coming in 2023 and before, because Aaron Greenberg's come out and said they try and stick around the 90-minute mark, or that usually that's around where they're at. So I feel like they can't just go and do like 20 minutes of these games now, because they're going to have other opportunities to show them now, plenty of them. And if they do that, then it's taken away from other things that you could potentially build hype for. And because that's one of the major things they need to do. Like, we were talking a little bit about it in Game Pass deals and stuff like this, like dropping the bag. There's not enough time, I don't think, between now and June 12th to make something different happen they already had planned. maybe it's possible, but I feel like they need to bring out some surprises. And if they have to go again, Rand's rumor that kind of went crazy on this show was that all the teams had stuff to submit, or almost all the teams had stuff to submit, but probably several of them would get cut, right? So they kind of have their pick and choosings of what they're going to show from all the first party teams. Plus, they also have third party stuff that's bound to be there. I think they really need to think about it and choose the best of the best, and also make sure that you don't announce any damn release dates if you can't promise on them, right? If we get, I'm not going to believe, after this one, I am no longer going to believe any release date that is given to me unless it's like 1 month away, right? Like, it's just no more. I will not put any faith into any release dates, period. So what do they need to do to prove that a game is okay and in good shape? They have to show the gameplay, because that's the proof in the pudding that this game is on track and all the games are on track. Because what's happening now and what you're going to see is a lot of, oh, Starfield is like, it must be in bad shape. It must be like, oh, they must, like, everybody's worried about this game and all this kind of stuff, right? So if you showcase things in the best light, you put stuff out there that gets people excited, like, man, I got to play that. I have to play that no matter what. I'm okay with waiting. I got to play that. That's what you need to do. And in order to do that, you really got to showcase gameplay. So as many games that they have to showcase the best gameplay possible, regardless of when it's coming out, that's what they need to show. I just feel like that's what they need to do with their showcase. Focus on gameplay. And then announce the dates of release. Maybe give us a forecast window, like pending Q1 2023, right? Like, don't set official dates in stone yet. Like, if you want to say, like, currently slated for, right? There's certain messaging terms you can use when you're announcing these games that are going to, like, make people realize, okay, things are still up in the air, right? But if you come out and say 11/11/22, and then months later say, yeah, it's written in pen, not in pencil, then it's like you're thinking, okay, that's going to happen. So I feel like they need to show gameplay and give people maybe like a slated quarter potentially of a roadmap that we can see. And if they do that, I mean, if it's anything like last year's show, the hype is going to build back up, I think, closer to the showcase, right? Mm-hmm. With rumors and speculation about what could be there and all this stuff. And then once the show happens, if it's anything like last year's show, I mean, everybody's going to be crazy excited. But it still puts a damper on what's missing for the second half, right? You cannot replace that.
But Mav, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Let me stop you there, because you just said you think that the hype levels will be the same if everything goes according to plan from here on out, and they have a show like they did last year. You think the hype levels will be the same, even though from that perspective, the show will be just wait for 2023, just wait for 2024, just wait for 2025. Yeah, they're showing you this stuff. Just wait again.
I think if they show the gameplay, which is the proof, right? They need to show the proof of the games, right? Mm-hmm. Instead of just titles, instead of just like 5-minute little things. I think if they show the proof of the games with longer gameplay segments, with true to form cut gameplay, not like cut up trailers that hints at a little bit of gameplay here and there, just pure gameplay, right? Let us see the proof in the pudding of what you have in store. Yes, give us a roadmap, because I don't want them to show us stuff and then have no clue when the hell this stuff's coming out. Like, it could be 2026. Like, we need to know at least an idea of when to expect it. Now, the catch is you can't replace the excitement of knowing something's coming in a few months, right? There's no replacement for that. But I think they can generate a lot of excitement. The key is last year they had a surprise or two up their sleeve. I think they need more surprises than they had last year. Forza Motorsport, to me, now is a must. Like, I understand. Forza Motorsport is not necessarily.
It's not a must, though.
It is a must.
But I'm saying it's not a must from the standpoint that we just have all assumed it's coming this year.
Right. Well, we've assumed it, but now I feel like they need it. Like beforehand, I was like, okay, if it didn't hit, like I'm okay. But now I feel like they need it because that's the one that we were kind of assuming was going to hit this year as well.
Mm-hmm.
And if they don't have that either, then there's probably nothing. Right?
Right.
So now I'm
Right.
feeling like Forza Motorsport, where before I was like, okay, yeah, that'd be really cool if it hit as well because we already have these other games and it's gonna be awesome because we're also gonna get that. Now I feel like that is crucial and important, and I hope that's what I'm gonna be watching, expecting to see Forza Motorsport with the release date for this holiday. And if we don't get that, that's a big L as well, right? Then a lot of people are gonna be looking for that. Now it's not for everybody; it's more niche because it's like a sim racing genre, so it still doesn't replace something like Starfield, right? Or even Redfall,
No.
I don't think.
No.
But I
No.
think there could be something else that they have that maybe is early 2023 or late, maybe another surprise for this year. If they do come up with another 2 surprises for this year, that would do a lot. But right now, the way it looks, if you just look at the slate, it's dry.
Mhm.
And that's a problem. And that's a
Mhm.
problem that they have to fix one way or another, because you cannot have a whole year go, an entire year with no big first party releases. A couple years into a generation.
No.
Like this is what going in, this is going to be going like 2023 is going to be like year 3, right? Like, so you cannot do that. Like that is not acceptable, right? So they have to rectify this for the people that are consumers of the brand, for the fans of the brand, for people that are invested into the ecosystem, the people that have the subscriptions to the Game Pass, that talk about their games, tell everybody, hey, yeah, you should check out Xbox, all these other things, and really selling the brand for them because they enjoy it, right? This is like a slap in the face. You know, that being said, it's not necessarily their fault. This is, but like as far as Phil Spencer and stuff goes, this is poor planning and management, or who knows what happened. Ultimately is maybe in the right decision, but it's still the end effect for us the same. So they have to come out there and they have to surprise us with something. And I feel like if they don't do that,
yeah,
then it will be like a big letdown. So I'm counting on gameplay. I'm counting on a couple of big surprises. They have to have for at least Forza Motorsport or something else for this holiday. And if they don't have that, then the showcase will, no matter what, be a bummer and potential false promises.
So if you had to bet today, man, if you had to bet right now,
yeah,
do we see both Starfield and Redfall gameplay at the showcase?
If I was to bet right now, I would say yes.
Okay.
Because
do you think it's extended, or do you think it is just a regular clip thrown in there along with the rest of
the tricky thing is Todd Howard's tweet or Todd Howard's message. If I can go back to, I want to read it word for word. So
sure.
I know it, like all I gotta do is go and look at all our DMs because it's probably in my DMs like 20 times today. Let's see here.
Oh, if you just go to Bethesda, I can pull it. I got it right here.
Okay.
So the official tweet was, we've made the decision to delay the launches of Redfall and Starfield to the first half of 2023. The teams at Arcane Austin, Redfall, and Bethesda Game Studios, Starfield, have incredible ambitions for their games, and we want to ensure that you receive the best, most polished versions of them. We want to thank everyone for their excitement for Redfall and Starfield. That energy is a huge part of what inspires us all, or inspires all of us every day, and drives our own excitement for what we are creating. We can't wait to share our first deep dive into the gameplay for both Redfall and Starfield soon. Thank you for your support.
Yeah. Okay. So he says deep dive. That means to me that it's extended, right? Some kind of like in-depth look at the gameplay. Okay. And that they said for both games. The question is it at the showcase?
Correct.
That's so I don't, if it's not at the showcase, I feel like it needs to be like right after or before, and preferably before. Because if they get it get it out of the way before the showcase, then we'll be like, okay, like what else do you have, right? So the question is, do I expect to see it by the showcase? I would say yes. They could do in-depth videos like they did for all the other Starfield stuff and have like a 10-minute, 15-minute video where it's just gameplay and walking around
Mhm.
showcasing stuff.
Mhm.
And then pull the whatever they had from the show. They could have just Redfall at the show. Could you know what I mean? They could, or they could do an in-depth gameplay on Redfall as well. But they like, I feel like by the showtime, by the 12th, if they don't have it either at the show or have it before the show, it's a lot. It's a failure because if we end up not getting that and then we have the show and don't come away with that gameplay, then there's going to be even more talk and no matter what else they show, there's going to be like they're still afraid to show it, right? Because that's what everybody was saying for a year, and we're sitting there being like, oh, they don't ever show their games so close till they come out, and everybody's like, oh, we're worried about it because they haven't shown anything, but that's just Bethesda's mo, that's Todd Howard's mo, and now it gets delayed. I feel like that conversation is going to keep going, and but worse until they show us the proof, right? So I feel like that's important either before or at the show. So I don't know 100% which one it's going to be, but by the 12th for sure.
Okay, so here's my deal. And I like this because we do have different perspectives on
Yeah.
this in some ways, and which is good because again, this is a big conversation. These things just don't happen with massive titles like Starfield. We saw it with Cyberpunk to the point where we all got PTSD from every time we saw the yellow stupid tweet come up, right?
Yeah.
But it's so rare for a Todd Howard game, a Bethesda game. And I actually couldn't remember one. Shout out to Maddie Plays, who did a great reaction video this morning on it. And he is a huge Bethesda fan, huge.
Yeah.
And he was again, he was as hyped for me as Starfield. So him and I feel a lot of the same ways, but you go watch his video. But he reminded me that Obsidian, this happened to Obsidian the exact same way. They had a fall launch date and pushed it to spring of the following year for Oblivion. And I totally had forgotten about that. But again, this just doesn't happen. We don't get these games frequently. And so for me, the showcase hype is down. And that's just me personally. I'm not going to put it on everybody because everybody's different. There's some people who didn't like Steel, didn't really have big interest in Starfield, right? He's not a Bethesda fan. His wife is, but he's not. But he was starting to get excited because of my excitement and my enthusiasm. But still, it's not that big a deal for him personally, right? So I'm not going to put it on everybody. But I will say the general consensus is watching the chat in here. There's a lot of people out here who are disappointed. And I think it does take some shine off of the showcase overall. And I personally, as of this moment, do not see a way that they can bring that hype level back at all. I think that it's still going to be a great showcase. I'm not Mr. Doom and Gloom. And let me say this for both me and Mav too, while we're here, we're both for the delay. Okay. We're both for delaying games. If it's necessary, games have to be delayed, delay them. Okay. We're both on that boat. So none of this has to do with we thinking that they should push the game out the door just to push the game out the door. No. Delay it. Okay. But I don't think that there's any way that they can recapture that hype. I think all the momentum that they had leading up to this showcase has been slowing down now. And I don't see a way out of it for them unless they have 4 or 5 aces up their sleeve that I am unaware of. And potentially they do. Again, it's Microsoft and it's Xbox. We don't know. But unless they have 4 or 5 aces up their sleeve for this year to replace those 2 titles, not just Starfield, but also Redfall. And again, Redfall, you can say, well, people really weren't really hyped about Redfall. And I would say, okay, but there was a portion of the gaming audience that was looking forward to Redfall because there's a lot of us out here who really love looter shooters and love the vampire stuff. And that was looking pretty cool. Plus it's Arcane. There's a lot of Arcane fans out here too. So you got to replace 2 big giant first party studio titles. And I just don't see it unless they've got some major aces up their sleeve. So even if this show, let's say eclipses last year in terms of content, man.
Yeah.
I still think people come out of it still talking about the Starfield delay. I don't care if Starfield shows there or not. I don't care if it shows great or not. The hype for Starfield without seeing it was already through the roof. Seeing gameplay at this point, knowing that we have to wait for it till next year, isn't going to get me that much more excited. Okay, because I already had the faith that this was going to be a generational type game, right? So for us Starfield hypers, it's not going to do anything. For the regular people, sure, they'll go, oh man, yeah, that looks really great. But we're still not going to see it until sometime next year. Again, that goes back to this unfortunate situation that Xbox for an entire generation, last gen, basically told their fan base to just wait every E3. That became a meme, Mav, out here in the streets. People still use it to this day.
Yeah.
Just wait until next E3. They don't have that grace anymore with the fan base to get by with this stuff anymore. And we'll deep dive this a little bit later.
Let's just wait till 2023.
Right. But that's what I'm saying.
Yes,
right. But that's exactly what it turned. That's what I'm saying. And like I said, you and I will get into that here later. But what I'm saying is that that's what you come out of the showcase with again, if you don't have anything for 2022. Okay. Because even with a motorsport, yeah, we were all assuming it's going to be there. It'll be great. There's a lot of people excited for motorsport, but it's still a racing game. At the end of the day, not everybody gets it, especially sim racing. Horizon broke through on a lot of different levels with regular people, but motorsport's going to have its core fan base, and it's not going to extend much out beyond that. So if you get motorsport in there, okay, then everything else shown is going to have the just wait longer attached to it. Just wait longer. And like you said, Mav, now at this point, and I've been talking about this for a while, we've been talking about this for a while when it comes to release dates, but at this point, we really can't trust any release date. And again, I know there's people out there saying, I told you so, I told you so. Look, I take the big fat L here today. I was dying on this hill. I died on this hill last year, saying that it was ready last year. And then they came out and didn't do it. And I said, okay, all right, I died on that hill. But then, Todd comes out and says, hey, we're going to take this entire year to polish. Is the release date set in stone, Todd? Well, it's not pencil, it's pen. Okay, cool, great. So now I'm on this hill, and then I got people this year, some of them intellectually dishonestly saying they never believed it was going to be delayed, but for the console war nonsense, the clowns were saying, oh, it's going to get delayed, but there was some real people out there saying, I don't know. And I was over here going, you guys are all jokers. Come on. Todd put out the date. It's coming. So I will take this out. I was completely wrong. And for everybody that I did call a joker or laughed at because I was like, yeah, you guys are crazy if you don't think it's coming out this year. Completely wrong right here, folks. This is, again, not an insider. I'm just a gamer. But at the end of the day, we can't take any more dates seriously. And that's why I've been saying since the whole Halo thing and Cyberpunk thing happened, devs, look, I understand why you have to put dates out there for a lot of different reasons, marketing, hiring, all sorts of stuff. But from here on out, either don't do it unless you're absolutely 100% sure, or add an extra year onto whatever date you're thinking about, and then surprise us all. And then just surprise us, say, guess what? It's ready. It's coming out. And just surprise everybody. Do something like that. But again, getting back to the showcase, I just think when we come out of this showcase, I think no matter what they do, I just think the hype level has died down. Coming into a very important second half of the year for Microsoft and Xbox. This is going to affect a lot, and we'll talk about that more in a bit too. But I think that the hype comes down, and I think as a gamer, again, I think it's going to be a great show. I'll be sitting here on Fun Speculations channel reacting on June 12th, and I'll be hyped, and I'll be talking about how great everything looks. But when the show's over, it's going to go back to, but all that stuff we just saw is for 2024. It's like, well, what am I playing this year? And again, for me, I'm fine because I'm a grazer, right? I am not going to be short of games in any way, shape, or form. I'm not sitting here trying to say I'm going to be bored come fall this year, okay? That's not the case. I always have something to play. But when we're just looking at first-party studios, again, the thing that is hypes up the fan base the most, which is your first party titles, again, it's just wait longer. Again, and Phil came out and addressed that today in his response too. As far as the showcase itself, here's my actual thoughts on it. I think this changes the showcase completely. Okay. Right. I think right now, I think that's probably why they're out there at Bethesda, because they have to retool the showcase. I do not think we get a deep dive on either one of these games at the showcase. I'm just throwing this out here. Again, I could be completely wrong, but this is Bethesda.
Do you think we could get it beforehand in one of those like Bethesda videos?
Nope.
So what do you think Todd Howard said by soon? Do you think it's just like 6 months?
I think this fall. I think this fall, depending on when they think they're going to launch. I think it'll be this fall, late fall, early winter, before we see any deep dive. I don't think that they showcase anything outside of maybe we get a trailer that contains a little tiny bit of gameplay. We might get like a story trailer for Starfield that contains a little bit of gameplay. We might get a little bit of a Redfall trailer that kind of expands upon what they showed us in that CGI trailer, but with some gameplay thrown in there.
Right.
But I think that as far as deep dives go, it's off the table. And I think that they're going to have to retool the entire show. Now, the good point, Mav, the positive point, like you were talking about, is if what Rand was saying on our show a few weeks ago was true, and almost every first party studio has submitted something, well, they got plenty of content to fill. Okay. And they got plenty of content to still hold for other shows. But I just think that Starfield and Redfall are now pulled back, scaled back, maybe not completely off the table, but I don't think that we get those deep dives. I think we go back to a more of a situation like last year. We're going to get lots of quick hitters. Yes, it's got to be gameplay, not trailers. But again, since we're probably going to be seeing a lot of future stuff, I expect there still to be a lot of CGI involved in all this stuff, because I think that they're going to show off a lot of that. Now, we still have Avowed, which could get deep dived here. If Avowed is ready to show, now I know they're switching over to Unreal Engine 5, and we'll talk about my tweet in a little bit too, that I put out there as a possible idea. If Avowed's ready to show, which it was supposedly last year, maybe Avowed gets a deep dive, right? Maybe Avowed gets slotted in and gets deep dive. Not to say that it's going to release this year. That's my long shot guess, but maybe it does get a little bit more spotlight this year, right, than it normally would. Maybe if Motorsport is coming out this year, they give us a little bit more than they plan to on that as well. So I think those things do adjust. And then if Phil and the unlimited bank account of Microsoft Xbox can work some magic in this next 30 days and they can get some deals done, then all of a sudden those third-party deals are going to get put in there as well. Talking about Game Pass, day and date. Look, Hogwarts is off the table, just so everybody knows. Hogwarts is Sony. Sony has the marketing rights. So anybody out there looking for Hogwarts, not going to happen, okay? Call of Duty, going to be off the table as well. As far as we know, that is still underneath Sony marketing rights this year as well. This will be the last one for Modern Warfare 2. We'll see, but I think that one's off the table. So I think that they slot something else in there, Mav. I think that they got to have at least 2 or 3, to your point. They do have to rebuild something as far as hype goes to say, hey, look, we know it's looking lean this year, but we've got something. And that's going to be required. There is a lot of third-party games that are coming this year in the second half that we know should be coming this year. Warhammer Darktide should still be coming out this year. Scorn should still be coming out this year.
Which they kind of reiterated that today. Scorn did.
Yeah.
Actually, on Lady AF's tweet.
Yeah.
It was crazy that they did it with that.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, Lady AF tweeted out and said, "It's all up to you, little guy." And she posted a picture of Scorn, and then Scorn's community manager, their Twitter account, just went right underneath her and said, what'd they say?
We're still on track for October release.
We're still on track for October. Yep.
Yep.
So again, I think it does affect the entire showcase. I think they're going to have to move things around. I don't think that we're going to get those deep dives. I don't think it's necessary to do it now. I just don't. And Todd doesn't like to do those deep dives. Again, this is what's shocking to me, Mav. Let's talk about this a little bit, bro. All the marketing leading up to Starfield was on point for 11/11/22.
Yes.
This was classic Bethesda. Okay, this was how they always build the hype train right before launch. It was lining up perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
So now, Mav, I've talked to you in the background about this a little bit. My feeling is that this has not been known that this was going to happen. This is, for me, this feels like something that just came up within the past 30 days. I don't think that they would have done all the Viodocs leading up to this. I don't think they would have planned it out to fall right on the showcase when they go, bam, here it all is, deep dive time, 11/11/22, get ready. I don't think that would have happened had they known this. In your eyes, Matt, in your eyes, do you think this has been known for a while, or do you think this is something that just came up, hence why Phil, Greenberg, everybody flies out to Bethesda, they have a sit down out there, meeting with all the marketing teams, and that just kind of popped up out of the blue? What do you think, man? Do you think this is something that just popped up?
I feel like there was maybe a little bit of discussion, and then that kind of prompted a little bit of the timing of the meeting. I know that they're trying to put the showcase together, right? That's obviously while they're there, right? Trying to see what's ready, what can we show, and like they're gonna sit down with Bethesda's marketing teams and be like, all right, what's the best that you got? What can you put together? Let's see what you got. And Microsoft's teams there and being like, oh, okay. Maybe there was something that came up there, but maybe there was already a little bit of discussion about it ahead of time, right? Because it's too convenient that like we just had all those pictures taken, everybody smiling, all that stuff, like you said, and then right afterwards, like 2 days afterwards, we get this announcement, right? So I feel like it could have been a meeting there, and it was like a request. Look, can we get 6 more months, because it's not gonna be ready like we want it to be. And then maybe like Microsoft's like, okay, sure. I don't know how this stuff happens. Like,
you think they got out there, did all the whining and dining, and everybody was happy, and then they were getting ready, they got done with the dinner, whatever else, and Todd's like, hey Phil, can you come over to the house for a little bit?
That's what I'm envisioning, like, in my head.
And he breaks out the good cigars and the good scotch, and he pours Phil a drink, and they're sitting out on what's got to be probably Todd's gorgeous land that he has out there, right? And they're kind of kicking back on the porch, talking about good old times and how the industry's growing and all they've seen and their friendship. And also Todd's like, Phil, we really
first off, do you think he gave him a lot of margaritas first?
No, I think it was straight scotch. I think he's a neat drinker. Okay. I think he's a neat drinker. I think he just went because they didn't have, it wasn't a lot of time. It would be like a sipping gentleman's kind of conversation, right? The cigars lit, just kind of kick back, enjoying the weather, checking out the stars in the sky, talking about Starfield and how cool it is in space. And then Todd's like, no, Phil, we really need to push this back to next year.
What he feels like, what, Todd? What'd you just say? And then Todd's like, and Redfall.
And
Redfall and I've been talking to the Arcane guys. They're not ready either. And I go, man, I cannot, like, to Phil's credit and Xbox's credit. I don't know whose ultimate decision it was. I mean, I'm sure it has to get up to Phil, right?
Oh, of course.
At the end of the day, no matter how hard of a pill to swallow and how much it's going to rile up your fan base, and I mean they had to know what was going to go down today, right? Yep. To still make that decision, that's why I made a tweet, and it sounds like sugarcoating, but I feel like it's again a dedication to quality. I know that didn't work out as much with Halo Infinite. Halo Infinite was high quality though, just not a lot of content. A different kind of model game, but I do feel like to make that kind of decision, the idea of quality behind the brand has to come first, more than anything else, right? So I feel like that's ultimately why they made the decision, because they could have old Xbox could have been like, hey, you got 6 months, wrap it up, ship what you got, and then patch it later. You know what I mean? So to give,
Yeah, I think
yeah, go ahead.
no, I just, like I said, I think internally Todd was confident. I think the team was confident. I think they might have hit a major snag in the game. Whether it was a
Something
major
came up,
bug,
yeah,
something came up that can't be figured out, that they need to take the time to make sure that it's not going to affect the entire game, that it's not something that's going to, I think something major happened. Again, I just think there was too much confidence in those Viodocs. Again, that's not, Todd's MO is not about hyping a game he's not going to have out on time. He's not about that. And 76 taught him a lot of lessons about that. And again, even though that wasn't his main team that did 76, and I'm tired of the nonsense people spreading out online too. Some people who really think they're in the know that, the A team worked on. No, they might have helped out a little bit. And yes, Todd put his name on it, but 76 was pure and simple the B team. Okay. And it was forced out by ZeniMax. So they learned a lot of lessons there. I just have to imagine for Todd to make this call to Phil and say, look, I'm sorry, but we're going to have to delay it and not have a time frame, Mav, right? Not to say, hey, we see delays all the time, but they give us a new date, right? New date is this. That says to me there's something major there that's going on, that there's something. I'm not saying the game, like the entire game is messed up or they don't have anything. I'm not saying that at all. I think they might have encountered something major within the games or one of the systems or maybe a couple of the systems that just they could not get worked out. Because again, to delay it is one thing, but to not have a date set, to give yourself a big window of a half a year, which means it's a total of, let's say half a year ends at the end of June next year.
Yeah, it's a little over a year
7 months. That's a little over a year from today, but let's just say from the original launch date, it's still up to 7 extra months. That says to me that they're not quite sure when they're going to figure things out, right? So
could that potentially be just because of slating of other games, possibly?
It possibly, maybe Microsoft made that call just to be able to slot. You're right, Mav.
I don't know. Just hypothetically, I mean, I'm not
hypothetically,
saying, because normally you would see a delay, 2 months, 3 months, or something like that. But they just said first half, and they put both games in there, so we know that two games got to find a date within those first 6 months, if that's gonna end up being what's happening, which you can't trust anything they say anymore at all, right? But if that is what ends up happening, they have to find a slot for 2 different dates. And what we had all assumed beforehand is there was going to be stuff anyway in the first half of 2023, because that was supposed to be the time when they get their whole, regular slate in their pipeline going. So these 2 games could be falling into 2023 around the same time as potentially something like what you said, maybe Avowed was going to come out, and maybe they don't want to drop Avowed and Starfield in the same month.
You definitely don't. You want to bookend two big games like that. Again, I've always said from the beginning that once they get firing on all cylinders, Phil's dream is at least one big RPG per year, right? Yeah. Because engagement, Game Pass, right? One big RPG per year. That's why they went out and got all these RPG studios, okay? Because it makes sense. Heavy engagement, hundreds of hours to be played, tons of keeping people in Game Pass because they're going to continuously play those types of games. But the 2 is like the ultimate goal. But if you got to bookend them, because you don't want 2 big games on top of each other like that, it takes away. It takes away from it. So yeah, you're absolutely correct, Mav. And like I said, I hadn't even thought about that. Microsoft may have made that call just to give them time to figure out how they're going to slot games in. Because now with this, the first half of 2023, depending on what is ready, could be very crowded. It could be very crowded.
And maybe
the first time.
Maybe there wasn't 100% going to be anything, but maybe they just aren't confident or know that yet. That's why they haven't released the other dates yet. So maybe this involves a call to Obsidian. Like, where's Avowed at? Like, how are we going to be? Is it possible to have it ready for the end of this year? Is it possible to go early 2023? Like, we need to know because we got to make these plans. You know what I mean? So I would imagine that with the delay this significant of 2 of your big first party games, it's going to involve more conversations when you've already had stuff in the pipeline. Like, we've known, like, the Compulsion game potentially could have been ready for next year as well. then there's Avowed, and who knew about Contraband exactly when that was going to be there. There's also potential a lot of things for the more later in 2023 that could, like, maybe they could slot one of those up. Who knows exactly what's going to take place? I know that for them now, I believe Starfield is a priority to have hit in the first half of next year.
Oh yeah.
So usually summertime is more of a dead time for releases, like around May. And around this time, we're kind of in it right now. There's really not any big time games coming out soon, so maybe that's why they kind of extended it into that area, because they know no matter what, they can fall back kind of on that
they
day.
could. Obviously, Starfield's so big that wherever it comes,
It's not
it
going to
moves
matter.
other games out of the way. It doesn't matter. So I hope it's sooner next year than later. But
they also have to look at third-party releases too. Like if something else is coming out, and other things that may have been delayed or getting pushed back or that have a lot of hype behind it, you don't want to necessarily have on the same day as your partners, especially if you ever have Game Pass deals worked out with your partners, if you have other marketing rights timed and stuff like that. All these, there's a lot of things in play with a delay. I'm just curious also if we're going to see like Monster Energy drinks come around November with like Starfield all over it and stuff again. Oh, we're going to see like the Taco Bell Starfield giveaway promotion, Starfield cups at Taco Bell and stuff. Oh my gosh, dude. Because that happened last time with Halo, a whole year before release.
Yeah.
Crazy.
No, they lost hundreds of millions of dollars on marketing to Halo Infinite when they had to crash it. Siki asks if we think that they would have launched, if this was still underneath the old ZeniMax control ownership group, would they have launched Starfield? For me, without a doubt, they would have pushed this thing out the door.
I don't think they could have afforded to delay.
Nope. They couldn't have. Yeah, that's a positive, right, Matt?
Yeah. I mean, it's a positive.
Go ahead.
For the game. It's not, and ultimately us in the long run, it's not a positive for now because this has been going on with a lot of their games. So then it raises questions like, do they need to have better projections with their release dates? Do they need to have better pipelines of what's going on with the development where they're not hitting their deadlines so much? Those are the problems that need to be addressed and fixed, not making a decision to delay a game that's not ready, right? So delaying a game that's not ready is ultimately a good thing, right? And they made the right call, regardless of how much it sucks for all of us this year. So the question is, how much money are they going to drop to try and make it right by the fans? You're on mute, Pong.
Yeah, no, well, they're dropping a lot, right? So they again, this is the benefit of being underneath the Microsoft and Xbox umbrella. The thing is that Phil's also walking a fine line here because Satya has given him basically the run of the ship and CEO of Microsoft Gaming. And I know Satya's more hands off, and Phil just kind of goes to him and gives him a heads up. And I know overall Satya is just caring about the Game Pass numbers and the Azure numbers and all that kind of stuff. That's where his focus is. But eventually, Satya's got to have some tough questions for Phil, because even somebody like Satya, who may not be a gamer, but now is running a huge, gigantic $1 trillion corporation that has invested more money into its gaming division than any other division at the moment, has to start asking Phil, look, I understand delays happen in gaming. We just came out of the pandemic. A lot of people delayed games, but what is our roadmap here? Because I know for a fact gamers expect games of quality to be coming out on a regular basis, especially for a subscription service, and we can only rely on third parties for so long, right? Mm-hmm. There has to be a moment in time where that flips, and I think that Phil is getting to that point. Again, with the fans, Xbox is past that point. They've asked the fans to wait for too long. Okay, and they've asked the fans for patience for too long now at this point.
Yeah, 100%.
Those 2018 studios are coming up on 5 years since the acquisition, man. 5 years since the acquisition. And nothing has been put out first party wise from those studios outside of smaller passion project like Grounded, etc.
Yeah.
Look, everybody went through the pandemic. Some studios had very rough times. Some studios seem to be okay. And I don't have to name names, right? There are some studios that still put out multiple games during the pandemic, right? So with all these studios that you have under your umbrella, you can't tell me that every single one of them had extreme issues with the pandemic, right? That only carries so long. Yes, some delay.
Well, they've had time to figure out the new systems and everything.
That as well.
You know, I mean, the whole world had to revolve around that, not just gaming. And I feel like 2022 now, like, maybe we're still feeling some of the effects from how long these games have been in development, because they did kind of lose a substantial amount of time. But like at this point, when you announce a date that far in advance, it's because you're expecting it to hit it. You know what I mean?
Correct.
So,
correct. And you knew the position you were in.
Yeah,
right? So that's why it speaks to me and says that something major came up. That something within the past 30 days or so really kind of tripped them up, and they were like, well, we're not going to hit now. We're not going to hit now. So I think that's, again, that's my best guess. As far as Arcane goes, let's talk a little bit about Arcane. Let's break it up a little bit. We obviously focus on Starfield because Starfield is everything, right? Starfield is the one that Microsoft has been leaning on. It's one of the big reasons why they went and did the ZeniMax acquisition, because Starfield was in the pipeline. Sony was trying to gobble it up for a couple of years. Look, we understand Starfield's big, but let's talk about Arcane here. Redfall. This was a big project for Arcane. Arcane came out today and also tweeted out on top of the Bethesda tweet and said, here at Arcane Austin, we've decided to delay the launch of Redfall. The team needs more time to bring the game to life. Thank you so much for your continued support. Redfall is our most ambitious game yet, and we can't wait to show it off soon. That was from Harvey Smith at Arcane Austin. Man, with Arcane, and I said this, right? I because people were talking about the Redfall delay more than even the Starfield delay. And I almost said Starfall, thanks to Caitlin. The Starfield delay was being talked about a lot, but Redfall was out there. Like, people were like, I really think Redfall could be delayed. And I had been saying on other shows and here that, look, we're coming close to the time. If they're going to delay Redfall, it's got to be within the month of May. Well, here we are. Obviously, I never expected Starfield to be included in that, but this was about the time that I expected, if they were going to announce a delay, that they do it. And they did. But they're talking about this being their most ambitious game yet. To me, this makes sense. This studio is trying something new in a looter shooter type game, which we haven't really seen Arcane do before, right? So, and probably having their own twists, their new mechanics that Arcane loves to come up with in games. Man, what do you think about the Redfall delay? Makes sense to you? What do you think that this means for Arcane going forward with Redfall? Do you think this game all of a sudden is a lot bigger than maybe we thought it was to begin with?
Yeah, I think it is, because a lot of the rumors that we had seen, and from the people that had seen that behind the scenes, said that like it's much bigger in scope than anybody had anticipated, calling it almost like a Borderlands style type game, with vampires and all this kind of stuff. And it's this one is not as surprising, right? I mean, it was slated for summer, so it also is a further delay, even more than Starfield. But the fact that it's delayed was a lot less surprising. I think a lot of us had assumed it was maybe potentially going to be delayed, but we're thinking more fall, you know? So as far as how much it was delayed, it was a little bit surprising. The Starfield one hit us like a ton of bricks. Did not see that coming a mile away. But the Redfall, it makes sense. Like, with the project like that, doing something that they've really never done before, a bigger scope than they've really ever done before, focusing on that multiplayer aspect and co-op. It's a lot of different things and elements there, and it just, that one doesn't catch me off guard, but it did catch me off guard to have it both in the same announcement. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
I don't know if it would have been better to spread them out than to wait till after, like, you have other things that you may have surprised us with at E3, right? To lessen, like, because if you would have delayed Starfield now, I think, I know people are saying, like, why do it ahead of the show? I feel like it's the right move, personally. I don't feel like you do it after the show or at the show, right? I don't feel like you put that on the showcase, because after the showcase, no matter what else you show, that's all anybody's going to be talking about, right? Like, oh, Starfield was delayed, Starfield delayed, and it's going to potentially overshadow everything else you have there. As opposed to now you get it out of the way. Bad news always usually comes before good news. And this is mega bad news, right? It reminds me.
I'm surprised it was a Thursday, actually. I'm surprised they didn't dump it tomorrow.
Yeah, I am too. I am too. I'm wondering if there's more bad news coming tomorrow. I hope not. But yeah, I think that the bad news usually comes before good news, and getting that announcement ahead of time means that at the showcase now we can focus on what are we going to see that's going to surprise us, and not be surprised by disappointment. You know, now I think if they had enough surprises at the showcase and get us hyped again for like what's coming at the end of 2022 or early 2023 even, then like delaying Redfall at that point been like, okay, you know what I mean? It's not, because there would be other things there, and Redfall itself wouldn't hit as hard as like Starfield would.
Correct.
But putting them both together in this, I don't know if 100% was the right move, but if they know it at the same time, if they know it 100%, then I think it's still like the right thing to do to go ahead and tell us. You know what I mean?
Correct.
Like business wise, I don't know if 100% the right strategy, but I think it's the right thing to do. And ultimately that's what they did. So I can't really knock them for that. Yep. Now they just got to make it up somehow. And like you're saying, I don't know how they can. No, there's a good month in between now and the showcase, exactly a month, right?
Yep.
So there's going to be a lot of speculation, a lot of talk, a lot of like, what's going to be at the show now? What's going to be here? They have a chance, right? They have a chance to put together an amazing show, and it may not be what people are expecting, because we're expected to walk away from it being like, oh my God, Starfield's amazing and it's coming this year. And you can't replicate that now. But you can throw other things in there that are going to be huge surprises that get everybody talking and hyped, right? So, yeah, I know I've been kind of going off left field on this, but
this is an open conversation. You know that, Matt, because this is a big deal, right? So no, I get it, right? And I think, you know, to Topaz's girl, good to see you in the chat too, by the way, Topaz. You know, she says that to her, the term ambitious, our most ambitious project, means that it's still in development, and that they probably should not have even said, you know, included Redfall in saying the first half of next year, that they should have waited on Redfall to make sure that that team was going to be able to get it locked down, and maybe even had given more breathing room, leaving open the possibility for a fall 2023 or even early 2024 release, which I don't necessarily disagree with.
Yeah.
Again, obviously, we aren't there. We don't get to see how far how far in the progress they are, what they've actually got. Obviously, Phil and everybody else got to go see a bunch of stuff out at Bethesda this week, so I'm sure they got a great update as to where it's at. But in a lot of ways, she's right. If this team is taking on something much larger than they've ever done before, and again, Arcane is one of my favorite studios out there. They are so damn creative with all their games. They come up with all these new mechanics, always twists involved in how they tell the stories. If that's the case, and they are trying something they've never done before in a looter shooter type game, but also bringing in all that Arcane kind of feel to it with a great story and all this other stuff involved, maybe you don't even want to put that on that team. Maybe you want to give them breathing room and say, you know, just been delayed, and leave it at that, and don't even say anything, right? At this point. I think that's a great point. What do you think about this, Mav? Fuzzy brought it up. KhAos brought it up on Boom Show this morning. I've heard some other people mention it, that they would have rather had them come out, do the full blowouts of the games. And this kind of leads into why lends credence to why I believe that they're not going to give us big showcases or big blowouts at the showcase itself. But they've said, and Fuzzy just said in the chat, you know, he wishes that they showed the gameplay, you know, the big blowouts, and then announced the delays.
Yeah, after I disagree. I get it, okay. But like for me, that would dampen all of the excitement that we just had. Like that would be a buzzkill, right? Wow, all of this stuff, and then later announce the delay. It's like then we'd be having this conversation after the hype, and I would rather have this conversation before the hype of the showcase, right? Because the showcase is their big time that whole week to show everything and build hype for the next year, right? You can't replicate what Starfield meant this year. But for me, I would hate to see it, and them especially knowing that, them knowing it ahead of time, and still have that trailer out there, and they come to find out that they knew all along it was probably going to be delayed, and then put the delay out there, and then we're all like, oh, I thought I was going to get to play Starfield in a few months. You know what I mean? So at least I have the right expectation now as a consumer, right? And I feel like ultimately it was the right thing to do. So, and also for hype wise, for me going into the rest of the year into next year, I feel like it was the right thing to do. But that's just me. I get other people's perspective of that. You know, so for me, that's where I'm coming from. I prefer to have the bad news first. And that's one thing, like you ask a person a question. All right, I got good news and bad news. Which do you want? People are gonna react differently. Give me the good news first, the bad news second. Some people are gonna say bad news then good news, right? I'm a bad news first then good news person, right?
Right.
Because I want to process the bad and then be left with the good, right? So for me, that's the way to do it. But I get why people want it done the opposite way as well.
Yep. We got a $9.99. Thank you so freaking much, Flush Jackson, for showing up here and dropping that super chat. He says, great discussion, gentlemen. My backlog is robust. So gaming wise, I'm good, but nonetheless, it is a bit deflating going into the showcase presentations. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we touched on that, Flush. Agree with you 100%. Again, me as a gamer, speaking from a gamer standpoint, who I am as a gamer, I'm not going to be without games at all, right? Starfield's a huge blow to me because there's not going to be another game that replicates what we're going to get out of Starfield. And I was expecting to be jumping in for hundreds of hours this fall. So for me, yeah, it's a big disappointment. It's a blow. But at the same time, I got plenty to play. I'm not going to be without any type of game. So absolutely 100% correct, sir. That is a good way to look at it. But the presentation is going to lose a little luster for me. 3-Bit brings up a good point here. And says Sony announces delays with gameplay reveals all the time. It seems to work with them. Yes, 3-Bit, it is. And Nintendo does it in their own way as well, and they get away with it. Let's talk about this, Mav. Let's go into the criticism a little bit here in Xbox in general, because there's a lot of disappointed people. And Shizno, you're not wrong either by saying then people would complain because their expectations were built up. People are going to complain no matter what Xbox do. You are 100% correct, sir. That's kind of the way things are. Fair or unfair, there are different expectations for each company that's in this industry.
Yeah.
Okay?
We
know this.
100% though. Like, honestly, there's no right decision here.
No,
because
you can't. There's
bad.
No
it's bad news, no matter how you want to take it, and it's going to suck either way. The only thing is depending on when you want to deal with, when you want to process that crappy.
How you want to process.
How you want to process it. You know.
But let's talk about this, man, because let's talk about a little bit of the criticism that we do have to level. Again, there's no sugarcoating this. A lot of people have been trying to, and it's okay if you're just going to take the view as a gamer, right? I could sugarcoat it as a gamer like I just did and say, I got plenty to play. That's fine. Delay the game. It's good. No problem for me, right? Mav could do the same. Mav's got plenty to play as well. None of us are going to go dry just because there's no first-party titles. Now, people who only play first-party titles, who only play exclusives, okay, well, yeah, those people are going to have something to be very upset about. But for all the rest of us as gamers, if we're realistic with ourselves, this isn't about what we're going to be able to play or not play or what we're going to have or what we're not going to have, right? But when you look at it from a business standpoint, and again, this is armchair CEO stuff. Some people hate this stuff. I don't care. This is podcasting. Yeah. We love doing this stuff. We go into Speculation Town. That we love playing these games. We do it in sports. We do it everywhere else that we have an interest in. It's fun, right? Because we take a look at it from a different point of view and try to project ourselves in those spots and say, look, what is this? So when you look at this from a business side point, right? A lot of the stuff that Nintendo and Sony get away with is because of goodwill they built up for decades upon decades. Now, Xbox has now been in this industry for decades, right? Yeah. But they've had their ups and they've had their downs. Yep. And with Sony and Nintendo, they've had a whole lot of ups. So when their downs come, like we saw with the PS3 era, right? which was almost the demise of Sony. If you go read all the articles, that were released after that fact, Sony higher ups have come out and admitted that that was almost a demise because they spent so much money on the cell processor. They can recover faster because they have all this other backup goodwill that they've gotten right through the decades.
Right.
Xbox is on borrowed time when it comes to what they've done, because even in their up times, even in their best of times, the 360 era, they still had something major like the Red Ring of Death, right? They still had these hiccups. And then they come into the Xbox One generation and fumble everything that they had built. Okay, now again, how that happened, why it happened, those are discussions we can always have. But the point of fact is Microsoft fumbled the ball completely. Donnie D and his group completely blew it. Okay. They threw away all the 360 goodwill in one shot. And what happened? The entire last generation map. What did we hear? Just wait until next E3.
Yep.
Just wait until next E3. Just wait until again, we just talked about this, but this is what I'm getting to here. Just wait until next E3. Sony, on the other hand, because they watched Microsoft fumble the ball, and they went ahead and completely flip-flopped on what they were going to do, which was going to be very similar to Xbox. And they did that on the spot, like a good company will do. They took advantage of the situation. Yep, took advantage. And guess what? Jumped out the gates with the PS4. Again, Xbox sold very well for that initial year, but then it trailed off dramatically. And then Sony was taken over from there on out. And then what did Sony do? They just capitalized throughout that generation. And because they capitalized on everything that Xbox and Microsoft had screwed up on, they built such a lead that we could get a E3 from them in which they sold their whole entire fan base on hopes and dreams for the future 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the road with that famous E3 of theirs. And that's okay. They could do that because they had such a gigantic lead and advantage over the competition. Microsoft went through a whole generation promising changes, promising next year. Then Phil takes over and does a masterful job of turning the ship around, right? We all know this. We give Phil all the nonstop praise that he deserves because he does. But he does all of this work. And in 2018, he goes out and makes some big, giant acquisitions, finally showing Xbox is back in this game. And then starts all the process again. Everybody's like, okay, all the Xbox fans are like, okay, that's when I jump back in. Game Pass starts growing. Yep. I jump back into Xbox. I'm like, hey, this is for me. I really like this. Like to see what Phil's doing over here. He's got some studios now. We're going to start getting some first party games. Looking good. I'm back in again. So I jump back into Xbox again and I start enjoying it. And I keep, the hype's real. Hype's real. Everything's looking up and up. Here we are in 2022, Mav. And we don't even have any games from those 2018 acquisitions, again, outside of the small passion project like Grounded. Whereas Sony has capitalized on what they did last gen. Now, they've had their own trips and falls, and we've certainly called them out on all their stupid stuff this gen so far. There's been a lot of dumb things they have done. But one thing that hasn't changed is their studios have continued to put out games. Even through the pandemic, their studios continue to produce. Meanwhile, Xbox fans as a whole are continuing to be told, just wait. I'm sorry, just wait. I'm sorry. Hey, we got to delay this. Just wait. And I'm talking about the first party stuff. They've done a masterful job with Game Pass. They've invested more money into their fans than any other company has. And I give them all the credit in the world. But we do have to critique some here, Mav, that with their studios, with their first parties that they've gone out and acquired, and I'm not talking about the ones just recent, right? But they have had studios already underneath that umbrella that probably should have had games out by now. Again, I'm not a dev. I'm not sitting here claiming that all of a sudden devs can magically make things appear, but we have seen other studios do it, even through the tough times. And here we are again now in 2022, nothing in the first half. Again, we did this last year. Everybody was like, chill out, first half, no big deal. Just look at that second half. Yeah. Second half is going to be amazing. Halo, Forza Horizon, we got it covered. We did the same thing this year, said, hey, look, still trying to get up, trying to get ramped up, trying to get it firing on all cylinders here. No big deal. Phil's got it under control. We got some stuff for the second half of the year. Second half of the year is going to look fire. Starfield, Motorsport, Redfall. We're doing good. No problem. We're going to be eating good second half of the year. This is going to be great. But now here we are with all those eggs in that basket, right? With all those eggs in, that was thunder, by the way, if anybody heard that. With all the eggs in the basket, and all of a sudden, now 2 of those eggs are gone. And here we are again, now telling everybody, hey, sorry guys, really wanted this to happen, but we got to wait till next year again. 2023 is going to be huge. I promise, right? Man, where do you fall in line with the criticism of how things have been managed from Xbox standpoint when it comes to the studios and getting content? I'll tell you this. I'll just tell you my quick take up front. I'll let you run with this.
You go first.
But my quick take up front. I've said this all the time. If Phil's Mr. Nice Guy, we know that.
Yeah.
I love Phil for who he is as a person, not only as a leader, not only it's all that. Everything he shows front facing, I like about the guy. I don't know him personally, but everything I see out of him, I like. Okay, I like his personality, all that. But if I was in Phil's shoes, I've said this forever since I started podcasting, I'd be cutthroat. I would not have played nice with this industry at all. I would have done whatever it took, paid whatever penalty it took to break all those exclusive contracts that they went ahead and honored. Because those studios that you acquired would have already had games on your system. There's no reason why Deathloop and Ghostwire Tokyo is not on Xbox right now. There's no reasons why we haven't gotten games out of those studios acquired in 2018. Other than Phil didn't want to break the contracts. He was going to honor those contracts. I would have been ruthless. I would have had those $1 million attorneys from Microsoft all over those contracts looking for any loophole possible because of this reason right here. Yeah. Right? And so for me, that's I think where some of the criticism has to go, and they really have to figure this out. Because they can't have this continuously happen and expect their fan base just to sit back and be like, it's okay. It's okay. I got third party. I got Call of Duty to play. I got Madden to play. Whatever you put in Game Pass, it's cool. It's cool. I'm going to play that. People get excited for your first party titles, right? That's what people really get excited for. First party home runs, no matter what we think at the end of the day, those do mean something. And right now, Xbox is not making that happen. We got Forza Horizon 5, which was spectacular, blew expectations out of the water for a lot of people. We got Halo Infinite, which came out good, a lot better than a lot of people thought it was. But now we got problems even getting Halo content, right? Yeah. What do you think, brother? Where are you at with this?
It's definitely been a bad couple months, with the season 2 announcement of Halo being 6 months, which is again leading into this same problem, right? Then you had the whole outage thing, which is, reintroduced that whole DRM conversation, which I think got taken a little out of context with exactly what the issues was. However, it still became another talking point again. And then you get into this now with your 2 big releases we knew about for holiday. Both of them gone out the window, right? So this is I think one of the things that's impacting people the most is it's shades of last gen, right? It's bringing back that trauma, like you said, the PTSD. It's like, no, not again. We can't go through this again, right? So leading into what is causing the problem right now, I don't know, and that's something. Is it that they're too? I think it was one of the Fable devs had come out from Playground, and I don't know if it was it was ever confirmed that it was a ex-Playground dev or somebody that had worked on it said that they were almost too forgiving, and there was not enough direction as far as deadlines and all these kind of things that they had to meet, and it kind of led for a too lackadaisical type a work schedule and not schedule, but too lackadaisical thing where people just kept submitting random things and ideas and all this kind of stuff. And you also kind of see this with Microsoft, and I've criticized them before too, when people give feedback, they kind of like sometimes overreact to things at times, and like, okay, well, we're going to completely redo everything that we have originally envisioned because like some people didn't like something, right? Like instead of, sometimes there's something to sticking to your guns of a creative vision and going full force into that, and then seeing your vision come true, right? And this goes into the problem that Microsoft's always had with there being a huge entity with a lot of moving parts, right? And they kind of tend to like have all these different processes that are in the pipeline of like, you got all the quality control stuff, you got all these other things going on, and then everything has to pass all these checks before it can finally get approved. You end up having a ton of people doing a lot of work that never sees the light of day. And it's a waste of time, right? At the end of the day, you're paying a lot of people to do things that never get seen. For me, that potentially is the issue with Xbox and what we've seen from them in the past, especially with their first party stuff. I think they can learn from that. And what I was hoping, because they're bringing in all these third party devs, all these studios, and they're like leave them, they're leaving them alone, they're letting them do their thing, right? I was hoping that kind of would like fix that course correction, right? Now we've seen that model succeed with like things like Forza Horizon and things like that. Sea of Thieves, has done really well from it, and Halo, I think eventually we'll get there. Again, it's another like, oh, let's wait, but ultimately they did deliver a quality game, just that's lacking that content again. So I think that they need to get their processes more tightened up for how they approach game dev. What surprises me was this was more of a Bethesda thing.
Yes.
Right? So
right.
Like we said before, is this situation 100% the same as the others, right? Is it the same as what was going on with Halo? I don't think that it could be 100% the same, because it's two different dev studios, right? It's from two different high ups, two different cultures that have kind of blended together now. But I think that this was more, like you said, probably some kind of issue that came up that got brought up either really recently or had been talked about shortly before this week, maybe within, like I said, maybe within the last month, maybe within the last couple weeks. And that decision was ultimately made when they met over this past weekend, right? Or early this week. I think that's ultimately when that decision was made. So, as far as all the games that we haven't received yet from all of these studios, you can kind of look at it, and some of it makes sense, right? Because some of them have had releases that they had already been working on, and they released shortly after the acquisition under existing contracts. To your point, you wanted them to scratch up those contracts, be ruthless, and just say, "Hey, sue us or whatever," or screw it. We're gonna do right by our fans and nobody else, whatever. But that's not what they did, right? So we have had Obsidian had projects that we already knew that they had been working on. Outer Worlds had come out, and they were already in the processes for Avowed, and that's one of the rumors. That's one of the earlier games we're about to get. So timetable for them, I'm like, I can't really say anything with Obsidian right now. I can't like look at them and be like, hey, you're not meeting your goals or deadlines and all that kind of stuff. Like Obsidian seems right. Compulsion, it seems like a long time since We Happy Few came out. So I'm hoping that's sooner, and that's one of the surprises. If it's not, then I got questions to ask about what's going on there. I do know that Phil has said multiple times that he's really excited about that game. So crossing my fingers that game's bigger than we thought, and it's also potentially sooner than we thought, right? Maybe into this year, early next year. Then you go into other studios like In Exile. In Exile, again, makes sense because they had Wasteland 3, right? That was released after the acquisition. So you can kind of go through and see where a lot of the studios were. Double Fine, they already had Psychonauts 2, right? That already released, So a lot of the acquisitions, like, because Bethesda just happened. And since Bethesda happened, we got Deathloop was released, Ghostwire Tokyo was released, and also we know that Starfield was in development, and now they announced the Indiana Jones thing and all this stuff. So I can kind of go through it. We already know what they're all working on. So I don't know if I can like blame Microsoft that a lot of those games aren't out yet. But what I can do is go back and look like what the hell were you doing before? Right? And this goes into the same problem that was going on last generation, why it sucks so much, why there's such a lack of first party content, because all of their in-house studios, they were so far and few between on releases. Right? So that is a problem that permeated from the first party, and we're still feeling the effects of that today, including with Halo Infinite and a lack of content going on with that game. Potentially Halo Infinite can be the savior of this holiday season with Forge and like all this other stuff. I don't know. Like they gotta figure out that as well. I don't know 100% why these problems have existed for so long. But I still think the future is bright because of all these projects from these studios that they did acquire. I don't think that all of those studios' problem is the same as what we've seen from last gen. I don't think you can just lump it all together, right? Because realistically, we already did get a lot of game releases from some of these third-party studios. They were just happened to be right after acquisition, and already deals were done for other things. But there's a couple of them I can point to and be like, what's going on there? Like, and then you go and look at the Initiative. That's another first-party thing, right? Perfect Dark, right? The other thing, Fable, Playground, that was another first-party thing. These are ones that are like Xbox original studios that Playground wasn't. I mean, they acquired them, but it still kind of had a relationship there, and they were so used to working with Forza Horizon. It's kind of like, what are you guys been doing now that's taking so long? Rare with Everwild, right? There's several examples I can make of like the studios that have been in-house first party or very heavily associated with Xbox for taking an extremely long time to get some of those games developed. But I can't necessarily put all the new acquisitions in that same ballpark, right? Because we've seen games being released, and this is the first time we've had major delays like after the acquisition from those studios, right? So I don't think it's necessarily the same, but Xbox has to figure out that first party thing, man, and they got to tighten up the processes that they have, because I think it's just too much stuff going on all over the place, and not enough just like creative vision pushing the teams through, right? And that's why I had faith in Todd Howard's going to deliver on 11/11, because that's what he does. You know, that's who he is. So we'll see, man. I don't know. What do you think? Like, you think there's a difference there between the new acquisitions and the first party of what we've seen in the last generation, or you think it's just like all the same now? Like, because I mean, they operate differently, I would assume, right?
Well, again, there's a lot of fact. Again, without being on the inside, right? It's always going to be speculation. It's just what we see on the outside. We never get the details. Like I said, I wish there was somebody in the studio. I wish they put somebody in the studio doing a documentary at each one of these places, like
you're gonna get the book
from like Schreier. A hard knock. I know we're gonna get the book from Schreier, but the hard knock style, like the NFL does, right? So we could see what actually happens during the development cycle of these games, especially the big ones, because I'd love to see that what actually is discussed, or at least pieces of it, to get an understanding of how the inner workings actually come together and what causes delays and what causes these things to unravel. A lot of it, I think, does have to do with management. I think that there could be, again, I love what Xbox is doing as far as the hands-off style. I want creatives to do what they do best, which is create. Again, as a gamer, I have zero problem with this. I don't care about delays. I'm still getting my value out of Game Pass. Okay, it's still the best value going. The value of the number of games that I play in a year, to me, is way beyond what I'm spending, right? So for me, it's amazing, right? First party is just going to be the cherry on top when it comes to day and date. So for me, I can wait, but I'm just sitting here going, look, you guys took all of this on. You knew it was going to take time, right? Especially growing the studios, right? They started growing these studios, which is another big deal. A lot of these studios were smaller teams when they acquired them, especially the 2018 group. And like you said, Matt, they had projects in the works. Again, that's why I say I would just nix the contract.
Yeah.
Like, we're done. We're done here. We're done here. We're moving on to bigger and better things. So I do think some of it's that, but I do think that sometimes, not everybody, but there are certain studios or certain people or certain leadership groups that do need a little bit more pressure put on them in order to get down to business, right? I think sometimes it can be, like you said, that we have heard things like, well, it's even more relaxed than we thought it would be. Undead Labs, I think, was the one that came out and said that recently. Like, we were worried about Microsoft, and then actually it was like a little too hands off at the same time. So I do think that balance, Matt Booty, Phil, they have to figure out how to do that with certain teams to get the best work out of them, because not everybody can be left alone, right? Look what happened we got Sea of Thieves out of Rare, but now Everwild was like, they showed us off this beautiful trailer with these amazing graphics and looking forward to it. And all of a sudden, a couple months later, we hear they have no idea what the game is. Okay.
Yeah, how many years has it been since that game was revealed? Like 5?
Right.
Like,
That's it has been. That's creatives being creative, and I get that. And what they showed us was absolutely gorgeous looking, and I loved it. But how can you not know what the game is that many years into development? Something there is missing, and we saw some people leave right at the top from Rare there over Everwild because of it. So I think that there does have to be a very hard look, and I'm sure, again, knowing just from what Phil says and talks about, knowing the people involved, I'm sure they are looking at this stuff. It's just that in the meantime, your fan base is left with these holes that aren't being filled by first-party games that were promised years and years ago, right? And for me, that's the hard part. Is like, it's like, look, I'm okay. A lot of us are okay out here, but there's a lot of hardcore fans that have been around through the tough times that are still going, okay, yeah, I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. Love what you guys are doing. You guys are investing billions of dollars into the gaming industry, but we're not seeing anything that we're actually playing. We're not getting any fruits of that labor yet. And it's always just wait some more, right? And I think that's where the criticism can be laid. And I think that, again, it's a bad look for this to happen just a month prior to the showcase with one of the biggest titles coming out in gaming, hype-wise, looking forward to wise. And I don't care if anybody wants to sit out there and say, well, you guys didn't see anything. How do you guys know it's going to be? How can it be that hype? Look, again, it's Bethesda, okay? It's Bethesda. It's Todd Howard. There's a huge group of us gamers, more than any of you will ever believe, that do get hyped over Bethesda and Todd Howard games, that we're looking forward to it. And to have that game be delayed sucks. There's no other way to put it. And it does put a damper on everything. And I think that Phil's tweet today, I'll bring up Phil's tweet here real quick, because Phil did respond today as well. He really, who was it? It was Paul Tassi. Paul Tassi quote tweeted Phil and said, I get disappointed dad vibes from Phil. And that's pretty much what it is at this point. And Phil came out and tweeted today, these decisions are hard on teams making the games and our fans. While I fully support giving teams time to release these great games when they are ready, we hear the feedback. Delivering quality and consistency is expected. We will continue to work to better meet those expectations. Phil gets it. Again, whether or not he fixes it, whether or not we do finally get that consistency, I think the quality, Malf, I think the quality is coming, right? I think that their QC, I've seen them hiring for more QC, right? I think that they have taken that seriously. We know for a fact that they have gone back and looked at Sony games and reviewed Sony games internally to try to see what they're missing over on Xbox side, right? What they can do better over there, why their games on Sony side get rated so highly. So I think the quality is coming. And I think that's what these delays are. Like you and I both said before, that's why I'm totally fine with delays. Delay all you need to, that's fine. Because I think they do want to focus on that and get that right. But it's that consistency thing. There has to be a plan of attack. And it has to be, again, if a team needs to delay, that's fine. But these year delays, look, that means something major went wrong, right? 6-month delays, 3-month delays here and there. Yeah, that's going to happen. And once you get everything rolling, you can slot new things in there that are ready and all that good stuff. It's great. Again, anybody who follows Xbox knows how much talent they have, how many studios they have, how many projects they have in the works. They're going to get to that point. but it's going to be managing all of that. And I think that they need to figure that out now. They should have figured it out before, but I think that they do need to really figure it out now so that we don't have another 2022 on our hands ever again in the future. I think this has to be the last year that we have this uncertainty unless there's some kind of worldwide issue out there that nobody's prepared for and it causes chaos, right? And mayhem. They have to have it so that it's locked and loaded each and every year. 2023 forward, there's no more of this. Well, we got to push it. No, if you're going to push something back, you better have something else in that slot. Period. Point blank. And that's where I'm at with it. Again, I'll be fine. Still love my Xbox Series X. I'm going to be playing games nonstop. Game Pass is locked and loaded for me. I got plenty of stuff coming out. But at the end of the day, for everybody, for the overall fan base, if you don't want to kill the momentum you've got, you got to have that consistency. And that's a big thing, man. That's a big thing because they had a lot going into this holiday, and Game Pass subscription numbers were going to see a pretty significant bump, in my opinion, with Starfield launching this year on top of Motorsport, on top of Redfall. This is going to be a huge holiday for them. And now there's a big opening for Sony. If Sony can get together, if Sony knows that God of War is ready to rock and roll in 2022, I expect an announcement within the next week. I expect that they will come out and capitalize on this. That'd be the ultimate chess move. I saw J-Rock, shout out to J-Rock out in the community. He posted a tweet and said they should launch it on 11/11/22. I thought that was hilarious. That would be like the ultimate FU by Sony. That would be crazy, but they could. And I think that Sony, again, if they know they're going to have God of War Ragnarok, I think they're going to be ready. Damn, man, we've been going for, hour 45 already? Oh, I knew this was a big topic, bro.
Yeah. So, we've been talking about, okay, so there's a lot of aspects to this, right? We've been given a lot of criticism, right?
Yeah,
and fairly, even though somebody in the chat thinks we're sitting there making excuses, we've been giving a lot of criticism here. I don't know what show they're watching, but
oh boy, are we supposed to come and say Xbox is doomed?
Well,
no, I'm not going to go that route. Xbox is not doomed.
That's what. Okay,
Xbox is dead.
Where I'm going with this, right?
Shout out to Fonz who would say that on RDX. He's in the chat right now. Fonz would end the show that way. Say Xbox is dead. Got no games. Over with. Call it. No. That's not what we're gonna do here. My God, people, come on, man. Yeah, again, all you gotta do is look at the facts.
There's a lot of doomsday scenario people going on Twitter, and a lot of it's just troll nonsense and stuff, right? And it's there's definitely, this is a time where we as a gamer, if this was PlayStation, I would say the same thing. Hey, wear my PlayStation shirt today. The best day to wear that, right? But no, if it was PlayStation, I'd deliver the same criticism. If God of War gets delayed this holiday and you don't have anything for the holiday, this deserves criticism as well. It deserves discussion. Same thing we're having with Xbox. This deserves criticism. This deserves discussion. This deserves why are we in this position still, right? And all this kind of conversation, right? But this is not.
Thank you, Shane, guys. Hold on, man. Shane, guys, thank you. He goes, you guys are being too critical, but that's because I'm the biggest Xbox fanboy, and I'm admitting it.
Right on.
And he laughed. LOL. Absolutely. Thank you, Shane. Thank you, Shane. I appreciate it.
And I don't mind conversation about the other stuff as well. If people have that opinion, and everybody is entitled to ignorance, even if they want to be. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. Some people just don't look at all the facts and know everything that's out there. Some people have been listening to the wrong shows. Some people have been listening to the wrong people. Some people actually believe this kind of stuff, right? That all that doomsday scenario things, Xbox is doomed to fail because of this and all of this nonsense. Speaking of, I want to get to this $5 super chat from Victor Alstein. Appreciate you, bro. Thank you for the support as well as always. Says this, I believe, is all happening. This is conspiracy theory stuff. I had some of this in the back of my head earlier. I didn't come out with it, but he said this, I believe, is all happening because of the ABK deal. They're trying to lie low until it passes. Watch Starfield release after and expect an okay show. Well, here's the thing with that. Maybe because, it's exclusive, right? Maybe because it's going to be exclusive and they don't want to have that big-time release on another big-time publisher acquisition show up as exclusive before the ABK deal goes through. Just a hypothetical. I'm not saying that's the case. Just some interesting conspiracies type
I'm
speculation.
all about the tinfoil hats.
Right.
Thank
So,
you, Victor.
I mean, I had some of those thoughts in the back of my head earlier too, Victor. Just like you never know 100%. Like both games, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like some people out there saying they're extremely surprised because of where they thought Redfall was as well. That are kind of have been known to know some things. So you never know. The Activision Blizzard deal is a huge thing that they cannot afford to lose. But like, going into this, right? There's a lot of negativity, a lot of doom and gloom about, hey, you know, we can't take it anymore. The Xbox, I'm gonna go trade in my Xbox tomorrow. You know, screw this. You know, a Game Pass is gonna fail. This is because of Game Pass. This is because of half-baked games. This is because of all this. This is because of all that. And if the ABK deal doesn't go through, Xbox is gonna have to shut shop. Negating all the things that we've been going through the last 2 years of like their business increasing, gaining market share, being actually the leader in revenue the last quarter. Like all of these things are just like out the window all of a sudden because their games got delayed. It is a huge blow. It is going to affect Xbox, and it's going to have to affect their decision making of what they're going to do. This has ramifications, right? It is going to cost them money. You know, 100%. Probably marketing money as well as losses of potential new subscribers this year, right? Because there's Starfield is a big dog. You know, you're gonna get that out there. You're probably gonna get a lot of subscribers into the platform, but it's not meaning that Xbox is going to fail. It does not mean Xbox is dead. So
No.
I want to get into what is the hope now, because we've dealt with a lot of the criticism. What is the hope going forward, and what is Xbox okay? Like ultimately, I think they are plenty okay, and there's still a lot of stuff coming to Game Pass. I had this conversation that they have with somebody on Twitter, and they were commenting on my feed, and they said that Xbox has nothing for Game Pass this year. And I'm like, did you forget about every other thing coming to Game Pass? You know, like they still are potentially going to gain subscribers. That doesn't necessarily mean there's going to be a mass exodus from Game Pass, right? Oh, I'm unsubscribing now. I'm not going to play any of those other games coming to Game Pass. I only subscribed last year because I knew Starfield was coming out next year. That's not really a great take. You know what I mean? I think there's going to be still a lot of things. I think it's going to impact them for sure. Maybe not have as good of a quarter as they wanted to, right? Especially. But they could also have a better quarter later on than they also had intended to, right? So this kind of sets things back. Again, you know, you're dealing with like fiscal year stuff. The whole summer thing as well fits within that same fiscal year, right? For 2023, I have a fiscal year 2023. I think it's what it would be, right? So ultimately, it's not going to be like, there's no doomsday here. It's just a bitter pill to swallow for us as gamers, and Microsoft is going to be fine, and there's going to be lots of things. My question is, again, what can they do to make up for it? What is the hope that we can have from this, as opposed to what things we can potentially expect from them now? Like, because I think they are probably going to do something to try and make up for this to the fan base and have some other more positive news out there. I don't know what it could be, but I'm curious. Like, what's the hope from this, and how's it going to affect their 2023? Right. So maybe we can get into that, Pong.
Yeah, let's get into it, because that's how I started the show after I got done with my morning, right?
Yep.
My sadness, I said there's a lot to look forward to, including Game Pass, and that there is, you know, again, there is no doomsday, like you said, Mav. Not at all. Okay, this is again, gamers have the shortest term memories I've ever seen in my entire life, and this will soon pass as well.
Yeah.
We're just gonna have to wait till 2023, but as far as what they can do, Mav, right? The positivity, some stuff. I'll lead off with a couple of things, and we can kind of go back and forth here. I already mentioned a bunch of them. Okay, so let me run through some of mine. Niche titles. Okay, they need to break through on the niche titles. They've been doing a very good job recently. We've seen some movement, especially from the Eastern companies, right? We've seen a lot of movement in some areas and some that give me big giant hope, like Danganronpa and number 1 and number 2 both now being in Game Pass. That is a game I never expected to see. We got Soul Hackers 2 from Atlas coming later this year to Xbox. Not Game Pass, but coming to Xbox, which, again, Atlas does not release games on Xbox since the 360 era. That is a huge sign to me that the door is cracking open over there. So what I think they could do, first of all, starting out with some of the niche titles, Age of Empires 4 Console Edition. Bam. Okay. Get that RTS rolling out there. It's a premier title, big reviews. They just got expansions being released on the PC. They just announced coming out shortly. Age of Empires 4 console exclusive. Obviously, it's already out on PC, but I'm saying Game Pass being released for console. Big deal. Then you get Atlas out there on the stage, okay? Or you have their shows. I'm not saying representatives of Atlas. You know what I'm saying. During the showcase, you announced that Atlas is finally on board, right? They announced Soul Hackers 2, but they come with the big boys, right? They come with the personas. Finally, there are now rumors out there that both Persona 3 and Persona 4 Golden, which has not ever been released on console, is happening. And a remake of 3 and the port of Golden, maybe some upgrades for the console versions, are coming now. So what you do is you announce those 2 are coming to Xbox along with Persona 5 Royale. Boy, oh boy, would that cause some waves on the internet to finally have Persona over on Xbox, because you got to start building up the idea that Xbox does have Japanese titles. Yes, Yakuza has made some strides in that area. We got the Dragon Quest came over to Xbox as well. We've seen Nier Automata show up. We've some Final Fantasies have been there, but we don't have Final Fantasy VII Remake yet, which would be another big hit. But if you can get the Personas, you can get Atlas on board with your relationship with Sega, I think that would be huge, right? Then what you do is you bring out Kojima. If Kojima's deal is done, you get Kojima on board, sign him, get it done, announce it at the showcase, get that idea flowing, that Kojima finally put all that nonsense to rest. All the people doubting that it was ever a deal, that Grubb was just lying the whole entire time, whatever the case may be, put that to rest, because Kojima's name will be huge to a lot of people, having that associated with the cloud game, a new type of game fully developed in the cloud, taking full advantage of Kojima's imagination, doing crazy things. That will run wild as well. Kojima would be a huge, huge take as well. Then one that I've been saying as my surprise for the showcase. I've already said this on a couple shows, including here when we talked about the showcase and how I would end it. Bethesda comes out, Todd comes out on stage at the end of the showcase or wherever in the showcase, and they finally reveal that rumor that we heard, that they were actually building out a different team to start working on remakes of their older titles in the background, is real. And that they are currently working on Morrowind, Elder Scrolls Morrowind, on a full remake from the ground up. And that game is going to be coming, obviously, to Xbox as we know it, right? Game Pass, day and date. We get an Elder Scrolls that sits in between the time we have to wait for Elder Scrolls 6. And Morrowind as a remake, again, there's still people to this day that say Morrowind is their favorite Elder Scrolls of all time. There's still people on the PC side of things still modding the heck out of that thing, trying to get it more up to date. And it looks like a totally different game if you go look at some of those mods. But for them to announce an official remake of Morrowind and then the subsequent remake of Fallout 3, hype. Again, that Bethesda hype is real. Then I think we need to know and find out what id's been working on, what id's been doing this whole entire time. And if there is, and I'm not saying there's a lot of dispute and discussion amongst this, if Machine Games has a team working on Indiana Jones, which we know they do, but also possibility that they had a second team this entire time working on a new Wolfenstein, it's time to hit us with the new Wolfenstein as well. The Wolfenstein, as Boxenberger corrects everybody. It's time to hit everybody with the Wolfenstein.
Is it
And then finally,
Wolfenstein or Wolfenstein?
Wolfenstein, I believe it is. Not Steen. I think it's Stein. I could be wrong. Boxenberger, show up in chat. Let us know. Listen. And then the final thing I will say, and again, this is selling hopes and dreams. And I know a lot of the fans out there are sick and tired of hopes and dreams. But unfortunately, if everything kind of plays out how we think it's going to play out this showcase or going forward through 2022, it's a lot of what we're going to have. So sell the big ones. Come out with a Star Wars game exclusive to Xbox. Come out with a Marvel game exclusive to Xbox. There'll be a lot of people on board with both of those. Mm-hmm. Okay. A Star Wars game done right. I know a lot of people are on the Mandalorian train. Look, Mandalorian's not big enough. You got to think bigger. The Mandalorian game would be great, but Mav and I have some bits and pieces of information that suggests that there's a different style Mandalorian game being made at a whole different publisher. Okay. Mandalorian's not big enough. You got to go big. A brand new Star Wars MMO style game from ZeniMax Online Studios, full-fledged. Let me become Jedi. Let me become Sith. Let me become bounty hunter. Let me become whatever I want to become. The next Han Solo, whatever it is, make that game happen, because we've got some older Star Wars MMOs out there like Knights of the Old Republic, and I forget what Sony's one is that's still somehow alive on PC somewhere. Bring out a brand new Star Wars game, updated with all the current Star Wars stuff. Look, you got yourself a huge hit on your hands. And then, of course, the game that everybody's been clamoring for, a Marvel game. Yeah. Whatever that Marvel game is, Doctor Strange, if you want to capitalize on what's currently hot, or whatever the case, X-Men, which would be a perfect marketing, even though Sony, I know, has Wolverine. X-Men on Xbox would be the perfect marketing time. Do it. You will gain back a lot of hype. So, there's my lineup, Mav. What's yours, sir? What do you think they can do?
Oh man, that's a tough act to follow. Real quick though, I want to get to a couple more super chats.
Yeah, go ahead.
Brian Hopkins, shout out to you, dude. Silent Cypher, channel member for 5 months, said feeling that disappointed dad vibe too. That's a lot of disappointed dads today, that's for sure. Then Jigga J hit us with a $5 super chat. Shout out to you, Jigga J. He says, "Is there a way to get the new Call of Duty in Game Pass this year without hurting the deal?" I've seen some speculation about that. I don't have the answer to that question. I've seen both sides.
What we know is that Sony's marketing runs through this Modern Warfare 2. And this is the last one, supposedly. Again, this is all hearsay. Right. Nobody knows for sure, but that's the word. And if they have the marketing rights, then deals are with their marketing rights. There's no Game Pass. So
yeah,
take that for
was
what it
leaked
is.
With that Capcom contract that had for Resident Evil or something else. I can't remember what it was. That had, you're not allowed to be in any subscription services or anything else up until a certain time. Blah 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 blah. The only caveat to that would be if that deal was just different, simply because Call of Duty's so damn big, and there was never any kind of like possibility of even the thought of it happening. You know what I mean? And there may be those contracts that they had signed with COD kind of predated even Game Pass, right? I don't know. It's just a hypothetical. Like, if it's possible, I think they would try and do it. But if they're going to do kind of some kind of breach of contract, I don't think it's going to happen, because Activision Blizzard's not technically part of Xbox yet. Still, the deal has to be finalized. So,
but they could cut some deals. Technically, they can still cut deals with other games that aren't underneath licensing with Sony. They can cut deals like they normally would, because they can still cut deals. So there's no reason why they couldn't.
You could also potentially see some like back compat type stuff come to Game Pass, or like older Call of Duties potentially could come to Game Pass, right? That have already ran the course of all that. Who knows exactly what is all possible. But yeah, going back into the hopes, right?
Yep.
I kind of delivered what I feel like they need to do to try and regain that hype. But now I'm going to be talking about kind of what I want them to do. What my hope is that we could see from them to go big and go home and leave everybody like, wow, holy crap, right? I think you got to show the Indiana Jones game, right? Either at their showcase or at Keighley's showcase. Just because of the type of property that is, it is a huge deal, right? That game is going to be a massive property. Uh, Potentially going to be next year because of the release of the movie being next year, right? So hypothetically, that could be a thing. I think Pong's right. I think the Marvel thing, there's a rumor out there that Roundhouse is actually working on a Marvel game. If that's the case, then if you show that again, even if it's like something like Insomniac did with the Wolverine trailer, you show something like that, people are gonna be like, "Wow, okay, this is different." Then you go into, okay, so what else could they be? Could they have? I think that you need to have something from Fable, right? So you gotta have something from these games, these first party games. I know, Pong, it sounds crazy, right? But I would love to see some kind of proof of in the pudding of Fable and of
Proof of concept.
Perfect Dark, Everwild. I want to see some gameplay, something from these games other than the fact that they're being made, right? Because we got those were announced a couple years ago, and we've seen nothing since then. So I feel like if I get that, I'll come away with, wow, okay, yeah, everything we've been saying, everything we're doing, we're on the right track here. Third party deals. Gotham Knights. I know some weren't crazy about the gameplay shown for that. Personally, I think that gameplay was the guy playing the game, whoever's playing the game, wasn't very good at it because they missed a lot of open combos and stuff, and it's just not very good gameplay. Secondly, the frame rate that they chose to display that game at, as well within the in-game settings, was very suboptimal. I would hope that the performance mode, if there is one for Gotham Knights, would perform way better than that because they did not showcase that very well. And I think that came across in the animations, making things look a lot worse. And that game to me looked like what I expected an Arkham game, a co-op Arkham game. Now, some people aren't into that. Some people think it's dated or whatever. For me, it looks like what I expected. Not like, oh my God, this is going to be the best looking thing ever. But like, it looks like a fun game to play. I'm super excited about it. I think potentially that could be obtainable for a Game Pass type deal. I've been calling that for a long time now, saying that would be a game to go after for Game Pass. And if they do a big third party deal for this holiday, you could have similar effects to a big first party game, right? Not to the extent, but we've already seen the Xbox marketing behind that game now, with that gameplay reveal and the trailers and stuff that just hit. So I feel like if you have big third party stuff show up and it's day one in Game Pass, it has that effect. It can help with the subscriptions. It can help with all that kind of stuff and bring some hype to that second half. So, other thing you could potentially see, maybe like a Need for Speed, right? Something like that. I don't know. We don't know if we already know they have Forza Horizon stuff. Probably going to be shown. So would they do like a Need for Speed when they're already planning on releasing more content for Forza Horizon, and they also have potentially Forza Motorsport? I feel like there's so many different possibilities, man, because of what they've all been doing. What I hope is they do something extra that they had not been planning on.
Yeah.
That's what my hope. Like, what can they do that's like to make up for this, right? Maybe they go to Ubisoft and get more of their games right into Game Pass because they already had just done some. Maybe they do more. Maybe they go to a different publisher, like, hey, let's get a multiple deal, right? Multiple game deal. I'm trying to think in my head the games that are coming late this year that are third party, and the reality is there's not a whole lot. Right. At least that's announced right now that we know dates for.
That we know of,
right?
Yeah.
So come showcase, come Keighley showcase, all this stuff. There may be more, right? There may be more, and at that point, I'm hoping we see some Xbox marketing behind some of those things and potentials for Game Pass deals or something like that, because that's what they've been promoting to all the gamers. Like, hey, subscribe to Game Pass. Get games like day one, all these kind of things, and then without a year of first parties, day ones. We got to have something else to fill that gap. And if they don't, that's kind of a failure. So I feel like they got to go drop the bag somewhere. And I want to be surprised it was a big bag dropped on the doorstep of a big publisher for a big game, right?
Yep.
That's what I want. That's what I hope, right? We got a couple more super chats, Pong Soul.
Yes, sir. We certainly do. We got to go back to Psycho, right?
Ahead.
Psychonauts. I got it. Psychonauts. Let's see. Psychonauts. Good old brother Psycho in the house saying, if the coalition is working on a sequel to Republic Commandos called Imperial Commandos, I'll lose my effing loving mind. That would be awesome. Psycho, I agree with you, sir. I would take an Imperial Commandos any day of the week. That would be freaking amazing. And then, of course, we had Alvin with the $5 super chat. Thank you so much, sir. As always, Fallen Order sequel revealed to be Jedi Survivor. Release this holiday. Maybe release this holiday. Yeah. Maybe they can flex EA partnership for Game Pass drop this holiday. That would be great, but it's looking like 2023 for sure on Jedi Survivor. So I don't think so.
Hypothetically,
Butters. Hypothetically, it would be a great one. Go ahead.
What if the Ubisoft game that you'd alluded to, right? That there's a lot of hope for. UB Massive has been developing this for a while. We don't know exactly how long. Maybe what if that was showcased? Because Ubisoft and Xbox are kind of cozy right now. What if that was showcased there? Xbox marketing behind it. Just a thought. If it's a live service type game like Division, that could also work for a service like Game Pass as well. You know?
Yep. Their Avatar game would also work with Avatar hype starting to build up.
Is that supposed to be released this year or next year?
That's the big question, is whether or not it's this year or next year. I think it's probably next year, though. Chances are, knowing Ubisoft, I think it's probably next year. So, but again, with the hype of the movie, it'd be cool to announce that that's coming in Game Pass day and date. That would be a good thing. Biggie Butters with the Ed Boon angle, which we've come with before as well.
Yeah.
It would be awesome if they could say that NetherRealm has joined Team Xbox. I'd love that. I just think that they are really being quiet right now, even though they could possibly do that deal. But Ed Boon still announcing that he's doing a Killer Instinct versus Mortal Kombat, or Mortal Kombat versus Killer Instinct, or Killer Instinct stand-up. That would definitely blow the roof off. Again, niche in the fighting genre, but would be big, giant news and would definitely help as well. Sin asked, any word on the June 12th event being restructured in light of the current news? No, we actually talked about that earlier in the show, Sin, and our thoughts on that. My thoughts is that they will restructure the show, because I don't think we get the big blowouts of Redfall and Starfield that we were expecting at the showcase. I think those are saved for a later date. So I do think there's some structuring. Mav, if you had to bet on it, correct me if I'm wrong though, Mav, you said you bet that we still do get a pretty big deal out of both of those games, right?
Yeah, like I said, either before the showcase with some kind of like developer thing they do with, like they've been doing with Starfield, or shortly after. And I just want to point to the chat. Everybody should go and click that link that my wife Caitlin, my beautiful wife, just posted into the chat. I think you might get a kick out of that if you like Reverend Pong. Yeah, for sure. So
I love Caitlin. Thank you, Caitlin. Victor Allison came through with a Ninja Gaiden Black remake or something similar. Always about that. We have speculated on that on Boom Show before about Ninja Gaiden coming back. That would be absolutely amazing. I'd definitely be down for that. General Spartan 27, shout out to you, brother. Said Gotham Knights, which you suggested, Mav. Obviously, Hogwarts Legacy, which we talked about before. General, unfortunately, it's tied up with Sony, tied up with PlayStation marketing rights, so we probably won't get that. And Call of Duty, Call of Duty, if they could pull it off in any way, shape, or form, obviously, huge deal. Make it happen.
You could potentially see something like last year's.
Right.
Or other ones, you know what I mean? Like, because I think there was some of the Bethesda games that came in before that deal was finalized. Maybe they had worked out a deal and like, hey, let's get your back catalog into Game Pass, right? So you could, who knows? Maybe they'd be like, hey, let's get Activision's back catalog into Game Pass, right? Before the deal's finalized. But then the Activision would have to be okay with that existing if the deal didn't go through, right? So
correct.
Like, who knows 100% if that's gonna happen? You know?
The Sousa, apologize if I'm butchering your name there, says, bring back Star Wars 1313. Brother, I would love, or gamer, I would love to see that happen. 100% love the look of Star Wars 13, but that game is dead, unfortunately. Amy Henning, who wrote that, however, with her new studio, is actively working on a new Star Wars game, so we will get something from her. Mozam Shmeek says Xbox needs an exclusive Star Wars first-person shooter multiplayer. Okay, again, I can see that happening. I'd be down.
Who would develop it?
For
That's the question I got.
That's always the question, but they got plenty of studios that could do it, right? So
id could do it.
Yeah.
Coalition could do third person.
Coalition definitely
sure,
could.
but maybe it would be cool to see Coalition do a first person game.
Yep, absolutely. So some great ideas in there as far as what we should be seeing out of this stuff. There's a lot to think about, Mav, when it comes to what they can do to replace. Like you said, when you think about third parties, though, what we know of, there's just not a whole lot the second half of the year that we aren't already aware of. Like I said, we are getting Scorn. Stalker was supposed to be, but we are assuming that's not going to be this year, right?
Just
because
we also
that happened, and it
Stalker thing, right? Happened.
Yep.
So
yeah,
I don't know
that was a big title at the beginning of the year that was supposed to happen. Again, everything that happened over there, whatever. Stalker will come when Stalker comes, right? But we got Scorn, we got Warhammer Darktide, which is still on track for this year, right? Atomic Heart is another one that's up in the air, but we may still get this year. It just depends. Again, that was another Russian developer, so we don't know about that stuff, but supposedly they had moved their studio or were in the process of moving their studio. Atomic Heart was very far along, right? So we could see that as a surprise holiday drop this year. What else we got that we know of for Game Pass?
Somebody had put out a good list of games that we know is coming. Couldn't find it, but we know that there's going to be Deathloop as well. It's going to come to Game Pass.
Well, we don't know.
Not 100%.
That could have been but not 100%. That could have been a 2-year deal. Sony started doing 2-year deals.
Right.
Deathloop could have been one of them, but we assume we are getting Deathloop. So let's go with the assumption that we get Deathloop. That's huge for me. I never played it. I don't have a PS5, so I'm excited as all hell for Deathloop, right? I can't wait to play it. I know you fooled around with it on your PS5, man, when you had it. So
yeah, it's great game.
Deathloop would
Great
be
game.
huge.
Yeah.
Yep. Deathloop would be huge.
A Plague Tale.
I'm trying to think.
Yeah,
Plague Tale.
Alvin's Plague Tale. That was announced for Game Pass. I think Replaced is supposed to be this year still.
Yeah.
So that was a good one. That was an indie style, kind of side-scrolling game.
Yep.
I don't know when Somerville and also The Last Stand are scheduled for, but those were two.
Somerville is this year for sure. Somerville is this year for sure. So we should see Somerville again. So there's a lot of games.
I'm still thinking Forza is going to be there, right? Forza Motorsport.
Yeah. Yeah, it will be. I'm still hanging my hat on it. Again, I'm just like, it wouldn't shock me if they just say, nope, it's not far enough along. Because again, Turn 10 was helping out on a lot of different projects as well. They pulled Turn 10 to work on Halo Infinite. Turn 10 was also helping Playground with some Fable stuff. So again, that team, unfortunately, building a brand new engine, we know it's far along. We know they've been beta testing. Fuzzy has some, knowledge of what's happening over there and thinks that it will be out this year. So I do have faith that we're going to see it this year. It's just until it's officially 100% locked in. Again, at this point, it's just not going to shock me. $10 super chat from Silent Cypher. Brother, thank you for showing up in here and appreciate the generosity. I want to see the new Splinter Cell, but I fear it's too early. Thanks for the great show. Keep up the awesome content. No, thank you, sir. And I'll see you Saturday night on the Shop Podcast, by the way. Silent. Can't wait for that show. It's going to be awesome.
Brian's going to be on there?
Yeah, Brian's going to be on there. So,
nice.
But yeah, you're speaking Mav's language, obviously. Splinter Cell. We did a whole 2-hour show on Splinter Cell.
Let me get it. Let me get this out of my system right now. Damn it. Okay, here we go. All right, you talk about getting a hype ass show. You want to have a hype ass show. This is how you do it. Fuck everything else. This is what you do, right? You got the Ubisoft Plus deal that was announced as coming to Xbox at some point. We don't know 100%. They said more information later this year. That was announced a couple months ago. we still got to get the information on that. So what do? You have a Ubisoft Plus montage at some point in the Xbox conference, right, in the showcase, and in that showcase you say like, okay, it's only $5 more if you already have Game Pass Ultimate or some shit like that. And then after that happens, you do the goggles and the whole thing, and you put Splinter Cell on the screen, and you say coming to Xbox day one with Ubisoft Plus, Game Pass edition, whatever the hell it's called. I don't know. I'm just saying you could have Ubisoft make a huge contribution to the show, and if you end it with something that Xbox fans love so much, like Splinter Cell, dude, you would set the world ablaze, right? You make that goggle sound, and you go and you'd be like, yeah, we're making a single player Splinter Cell game that's like back to the OG, and you're gonna be snapping necks and all this shit, and it's gonna be amazing, and you're gonna be able to play, and you be a spy, and like hang off the fucking like pipes on the ceiling, and like hide behind shit, and like talk crap to somebody on Spies versus Mercs when you grab them behind the neck. And I mean, if they do all of that, if you do all of that, hey, that's okay. I will trade that for 6 months of no Starfield, right? I will accept it. You tell me
I don't accept that trade, but I'll be okay with it.
Like, no, like
I can't trade Starfield for anything. But no, also, you're right. You're right. Go ahead.
2K has been rumored to be working on a Midnight Club. If that shows up as well at the Xbox show, doesn't matter. It's going to be freaking huge, right? People love that franchise, and they're missing it. So bring Midnight. Okay. All right, go ahead, Pong. I'm sorry.
No, brother. I love your hype. Again, we've had a 2-hour show on Splinter Cell. That would be absolutely freaking amazing. And Ubisoft is a great partner, right? Ubisoft Plus needs to be announced at the showcase, and it needs to have a good price point and maybe a vault, just like EA Play. I think that would be a huge boon as well if they could announce that at the showcase. Yeah. But Ubisoft is a great partner to lean on. Again, they can lean on EA for Need for Speed, right? So there are some options. Again, none of them are going to be of the size of a Starfield missing from, again, it's like losing your main player. You know, it's like losing your Tom Brady. It's like losing your Shaq or Kobe or Michael Jordan. It's losing that big piece, but you can fill in with a bunch of little things. Again, it won't be the same coming out of the show, but you can certainly still show people why you are the best value in town going forward, even if your first party titles aren't hitting quite yet, right? You can definitely do that, and you can build it, and a lot of people will be excited. Again, I know Skull and Bones is down, right? Skull and Bones, a lot of people are down on it and don't think it's going to be a good game, but you never know. Again, we thought that about Rainbow Six Extraction. Rainbow Six Extraction is actually a good game, right? At the end of the day.
Yeah.
So lean on those partners. I know Ubisoft wants Skull and Bones in Game Pass. They're going to need it. It's another game that's kind of flatlined because it's been gone for so long. People thought it was vaporware. Now all of a sudden it's coming out in 2022. Like out of the blue. Like, no, it's coming. Okay. Well, you're going to need to get that hype somehow. You're going to need eyes on it and players playing it. So throw it in the Game Pass. Again, it's just added value. The more you can put into this showcase to say, hey, look, we know everything's really disappointing right now from our first party. We didn't do what we needed to do. We didn't do what we set out to do this year in 2022. That all rhymed. I didn't mean it to, but it did. We didn't get it done. Phil can come out on stage and say, look, we didn't get it done, but here's what we're doing. Here's still what we have going, and really blow our socks off, which again, I expect. I still think the showcase could rival last year's show. I still think it can in terms of amount of content, right? And again, if they're going to lean heavily on all these other projects that maybe they weren't thinking they were going to have to, that's okay. Again, if you have to sell us hope and dreams, it's better to sell us that than to give us nothing at all, like old E3s that we got from Xbox where everybody was like, what the hell is this? Okay, well, lean into it. You guys got a problem this year, right? You guys unfortunately had something bad happen where you had to delay a couple games. Lean into it. sell us that hopes and dreams for the next 3 years. A lot of fans are going to say, yep, just wait longer. It's great. Fantastic. Thanks, Phil. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it. Yeah, not what I was looking for. But you're still going to have a lot of people who do get hyped and excited for that stuff. And I think that that's what they have to do at this point. Lean into it. Just do it right. Get it out there. Change the format. Go back to last year's bam, 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 bam. Give us what you got. Yeah. Show us, open up all the Christmas presents, like I said. And Phil, talked about this last year. You're the candy man. You're holding that big bag of candy with all these Game Pass little treats in there that you can just reach in and grab out. Well, it's time to reach in and grab a handful out this time. Yeah. Like when you're trying to get rid of all the Halloween candy at the end of the night and those lucky kids come by and you're just dumping the stuff in there. It's time to do it this year, brother. If you got it, do it, because that will continue the momentum into the holidays. It won't be as big. It won't be as impactful as a Starfield would have been, but you can still keep that hype train rolling and get it moving back up to speed again as you head into 2023, where hopefully, once again, hopefully things are looking like it's going to be absolutely incredible from start to finish in 2023. So let's do it. Let's get it done. That's where I'm at.
There you go. Hey, also some Sega shit.
Sega.
Let's get some Sega. Shit. Oh, how about this? You gotta get another like random thing, okay? You got Obsidian, you know, they got another random project they're working on. We don't know what it is. Maybe, you know, maybe they went to Sega, who doesn't give a damn about the Alpha Protocol IP. Make a deal for that. You got your whole partnership coalition going on between Sega and Xbox. You say, hey, you know, we want to give Obsidian the chance to make the Alpha Protocol game they really wanted to make, and go get that IP and let them do that. You know,
hey,
hypothetically, if they do that, man, I'd be hyped.
And on top of that, let's just load up Obsidian. Just load up Obsidian. Just show a screenshot of Fallout New Vegas.
Oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah.
Just say you're giving it. Just say that you're giving up the goat. You know that, hey, there's still going to be a mainline Fallout game, but once again, Obsidian is going to step in and give us a Fallout game before the next one comes out, which right now, maybe 10 years. Okay, so just give us that, and there will be a whole lot of happy people, right? In Exile or Obsidian. Give either one of them Fallout to do a side story again. It doesn't even have to be New Vegas 2. It could be in Chicago, could be in New York. I don't care. Just do it, because that would still, again, hype up a lot of people. There's a lot of different avenues they could take here, man. This is the point. And again, that's why I started the show mourning, crying, upset, very talking sad about what a rough day it was. But then I took everything off and I said, look, we still got to look towards the future, because again, it's not doom and gloom. Xbox isn't folding up shop. They're investing more than they ever have before previously, and are going to continue to do that. And when this Activision Blizzard deal goes through, and let me tell you something, if you don't think they're not working every angle in Washington, D.C. right now to get that deal done before the end of this year, they just ramped that up 10 more times out there to get this thing pushed through. Because boy, oh boy, announcing that deal even later this year would settle a whole lot of fears out there and set that hype train really far or fast. It would get that thing going, jump started, back on track again, because man, oh man, that would be huge news by the end of this year.
Yeah.
There are things to look forward to here. For sure.
I'm still hyped for the show. You know, like this, honestly, for me, it does not, I know like for a lot of people, it diminishes their excitement for the show. For me, personally, it actually kind of like makes me a little bit more curious about the show, because I feel like there's less givens, right? And I feel I feel like there's more on the line, which may mean they have to go bigger in other areas, and it gets me kind of more excited to see of the possibilities that we may see at this showcase, right? So whereas before I kind of felt like at least the aspect of the show I really knew what it was, now as like everything's up in the damn air, I have no clue what to expect at this showcase, you know? And I feel like if there is some make good stuff here from Xbox, maybe we'll see it at this showcase, right? Because that's what they're planning right now. The timing of it could all, you know, go hand in hand. So
Victor Alstein came up with a good one too. Evil West, man, that
looks great.
Western game. That would be a great one to go money hat right about now and get that in the Game Pass. That would be big. And I'll just throw this last one out there, man. I didn't bring it up, and I don't know why I didn't, but I put out a tweet earlier today. Let me just throw this out there. It's just a thought, everybody. Okay, there's no basis for this, and again, this is the longest of long shots, but I threw it out on Twitter today. Got a lot of responses on it saying absolutely not going to happen. Blah blah. I tend to agree, but I did have a thought in my head. Both myself and Psychonauts actually posted in the DMs at the exact same time without talking to each other. It was kind of funny. Avowed.
Yeah.
We know Avowed has switched over to Unreal Engine 5. I understand that. I know this. Okay. So nobody needs to tell me in chat that it's switched over to Unreal Engine 5.
In case you didn't know, they switched over to Unreal Engine 5.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. I did not know that. No, I did know that. But listen, hear me out. Avowed. They were ready to show that last year, folks. It got pulled from the show late in favor of Hellblade. Okay. They were ready to show Avowed last year. Obsidian are absolute wizards. We already know this. Obsidian has grown huge. We've seen what they've done with Grounded, all that good stuff. If Avowed is ready, they could drop that right into the Starfield slot, and a lot of things would be taken care of. Now, the only reason why I say it could be ready, and again, this is the longest of long shots, people. I'm just throwing out there as a chip in the chair because, again, right now, like Mav said, going into the showcase, there's more questions than ever before that have to be answered by the showcase. There really is. But let's just say Avowed has actually had Unreal Engine 5 since the time the Coalition got Unreal Engine 5, which was last year. Okay, because of the connections, because of the relationship between Xbox and Epic and Coalition, they actually got their hands on Unreal Engine 5 last year when the Coalition did. Let's say they started immediately porting things over. Now, we've heard from 3-Bit that it's fairly easy. Again, not a dev here, but 3-Bit is a dev, and he said it's fairly easy to move things from Unreal Engine 4 to 5. Let's say they got help from the Coalition. Let's say the Coalition's been helping Obsidian. Let's say they got everything ready, not taking full advantage of everything in Unreal Engine 5 because, again, they didn't have the full version, right, with all the bells and whistles. But let's say they had enough of the Unreal Engine 5 in that early stage to port over Avowed from 4 to 5, finish it out on 5, and get it out the door this year. That would solve a lot of problems. You could announce Avowed at the showcase for that November 11th slot. Just an idea, just a thought. Again, a hope and a prayer, but I had to throw that out to there because it hit me because they were ready to show it last year, Matt. What do you think? Any chance?
I think there's a chance. I would say it would be more likely that it would be revealed and announced for early 2023, right? But there is a slight possibility that originally it was slated for early 2023 because Starfield was slated for holiday of this year.
Right.
And if it was like, they got 6 months, if they were like, yeah, we're good enough to go with polishing because, polishing phase, if they are that far into it, which we don't know, it's speculation. But if they were that far into it, are they close enough to potentially wrap it up together within 6 months and potentially switch slots with Starfield, right?
Again, not all the bells and whistles, but it'd still look gorgeous. It would still be Avowed, right? It may not have all the Unreal Engine 5 bells and whistles, but it would be fantastic. Just throwing it out there.
Yeah, and one thing like I would say to like the stuff with Xbox, here's another like very promising positive thing. All of these games that we get are going to be supported long term, right? And I'm not saying like release games half baked and then patch them later. What I mean is when tech becomes available, if it's possible to implement that, what we've seen from Xbox early this generation is they are going and doing the work on those games to implement updates on a lot of their games, right? So if there's new tech coming out, like say Unreal Engine stuff finally gets implemented or whatever, or there's other things they can implement, at some point these games are going to be updated. Like that's why a lot of them you hear this 10-year plan and stuff, right? I don't foresee a game like being the same 10 years from now as it is today when technology is improving so much, right? the games are going to get better and better, I believe. So Avowed is something that if it's content complete, if they're just waiting for like something that like that to drop, that would be like, okay, like why not go ahead and drop that and switch the spots around if it's complete and not a buggy mess and all those kind of things, right? It's just a hypothetical random little speculation thing, but I think out of any of them, that's a possibility. The other question I have is how far along is Contraband?
Yeah, we heard that's next year too.
Yeah, we heard that was next year, and maybe that was maybe potentially towards the later end of the year, right? But who knows? I think this whole shuffling of Starfield could potentially have shuffling of other things, and it just depends on where things are at. So
for sure, yeah. No, I totally agree with you. I mean, again, if it definitely is going to mix things up for the roadmap next year. The roadmap definitely just got more healthy next year. Again, 2023 should be the first year. I don't deal in absolutes because I'm not a Sith, even though I like to play one in video games. Okay. I don't deal in absolutes, but I unequivocally think that we could see next year the first time where we get at least one first party game per quarter that Phil and his team promised.
Looking a lot more likely now.
Yeah, and I think that honestly, there's going to be a couple times next year where we get 2 games in the same quarter. We're talking about big AAA games, right? I definitely think that could happen next year. We could wind up with potentially next year 6 first-party titles next year. That's even without Fable and Hellblade, which I don't think are ready next year. I think those are 2024, but again, next year could be the first giant year where we are just going, oh my God, wow, hit after hit. Again, a lot of things happen. We've seen it now. I never thought Starfield was delayed off this date. Look, things do happen, but if they've got their ducks in a row, next year will be gigantic for Xbox. There's just no question about it. It's time. Again, this stuff has to start coming out.
We've been screwed at so much now that it's like
the next 3 years, literally, we've got like 30 titles that should be coming out in the next 3 years.
Yeah,
legit. So it's going to be big. It's going to be gigantic. There's a lot of hope. Again, we just have to get through this year. And again, got to call it what it is. If they don't have anything this fall, or if they just have motorsport, it's an L. I mean, flat out, pure and simple, there's no reason why, like Mav said, second year into the generation, you will have an entire year without any first party titles until maybe we get motorsport, right? And if without motorsport, my God, it's unacceptable.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying that absolutely, without question, has to be there. If they don't have other stuff to replace it, if that's not there and they don't have anything else, it's like, wow. You know what I mean?
Yep.
That's like,
correct.
Even worse because Turn 10 is supposed to be working on that for a really long time as well, so
nope.
Yeah. Anyway, hey, that was a great one topic. We can go into the next.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no. No, we knew this was going to be huge, right, man? Yeah. We knew this was going to be big. There's so many facets to it. Again, that's why the internet was blown up today. Outside of the circus even, which we knew all was coming, because they've been waiting on information like this to go off on Xbox. And again, there was a Spaces today that lasted literally the entire day.
That's
look,
all that.
You guys, seriously.
Yeah.
I hate the phrase touch grass because everybody uses it, but please go touch grass. Go get some help. If you're sitting in Spaces for 8-10 hours in a day talking about Xbox and how
hosting one for that long,
or hosting one, look, you got issues, man. That's all I'm going to say about it. But outside of that, it is just a big deal industry wise because we just don't see this stuff happen, and nobody expected this one coming down the road at this time, a month before the showcase. Like, again, completely unplanned, out of the blue. Pretty crazy. Yeah, Victor Alistine says, Jez said last year that this year would be about setting up cloud, and I think that will be the focus, that they can have xCloud everywhere before the year ends. Yes, Xbox everywhere is going to be, again, it's been said in the past, but it's their new mantra going forward with xCloud. You are spot on, Victor. xCloud is going to be gigantic with their plans. Again, a lot of it depends upon technology, but it's one more access point to people getting into Xbox ecosystem that they are going to have available. Again, Starfield would have certainly helped with that, promoting it. But It is what it is. So here we are. But yes, it was a great topic, Mav. I'm glad we got through this. This was amazing. Jigga J, hey, he says, Pong, your Saturday show is 8 hours. Look, Jigga, not quite 8 hours. Okay, look, 4. Like, me and Steele like to talk a lot, yes, but it's not 8. All right, we haven't gotten to that point yet. Although, if somebody pays us enough and wants to start up a whole weekly show, even 5 days a week, we'll go. We'll go. If you want to pay me, Steele, Mav, for us to sit and talk like radio hosts used to on talk radio all the time when everybody was listening on the radio, we'll do it. I can come up with a lot of things to talk about. I know Mav can, I know Steele can. Just need a $1 billion man to come through and say, hey, I want to hook you guys up. I'm down. So let's go. But no, great show, Mav. Chat, you guys were absolutely amazing. Like, we were at over 100 people consistently through the entire show, which is huge for me and Mav. We've been building something really special here. Again, this is why Mav came up with the idea for PM in the PM, why I said, absolutely, let's do it. Again, he was just courageous enough to give me the lead chair. But we appreciate all of you coming out, and the discussions were amazing. Yeah, we had some funny stuff going on in the chat, whatever else. Those people are going to show up when there's topics like this. It is what it is. But we are just so appreciative of all of you that have helped us get to this point, that have, subbed to Fun Speculations channel, that have supported all of his shows, including this one. People who have found me on all my shows, whether it's Living Split Screen on Saturdays or whatever the case may be, or Boom shows. Look, all of you, again, nothing but love and respect, because again, you all are amazing for coming out here and sharing this passion and having discussions with us in there. I wish I could have shouted out all of you tonight, but I just want to say thank you to each and every one of you. Again, from the bottom of my heart, it's a big deal for us as content creators and just people who like to be in this community talking, not just amongst ourselves, but with other people. Again, there's nothing like this. Yeah. It's super special, and we appreciate you. But Mav, get everybody out of here. Tell everybody where they can find you, what you got going on for the rest of the week. Obviously, the shows are going to be hopping no matter what this week, because, man, people like talking this stuff. So let's go. What do you got going on, brother?
Well, Pong, tomorrow we have another Xbox show called the Xbox Ultimate Podcast at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. And, wow, if you are not familiar with that show, we got a lot of people that love to hang out, and a great panel on that show. We kind of go left a lot, so it's going to be an interesting show tomorrow. I don't know 100% what's going to happen, because we're going to get everybody's takes on this. Maybe we'll get into some more topics. Hopefully there's something else as well to talk about tomorrow as well. I doubt it, because they gave us that extra day to dwell on this. Usually they do a Friday bad news Friday, good news on Monday, right? This didn't follow that pattern. So but tomorrow's Xbox Ultimate Podcast at 9 p.m. Eastern again. Mondays is Fun Speculation Podcast at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. All consoles, we can kind of talk about Sony, if maybe it's God of War, or what's going on with God of War right now. We don't know that yet either. Do they have a chance to announce a release date soon and like steal some thunder even there? That's kind of typical Sony, right? As well as Wednesday, Fun Pop, we talk Marvel, DC, comic books, Halo TV show, games, and more. Come hang out on that show at 7 p.m. Eastern on Wednesdays, and every Thursday here, guys. We have a blast. I love everybody in the chat coming to hang out with us and showing us the support. Lots of amazing freaking people here as always, and it means a lot to me. Whether you come by a stream, which I'm going to be streaming The Division Season 9 in a little bit. Unfortunately, Pong has to go to work tomorrow. He can't join us, but I'll be joined by some of our friends like Steel Rain, and I think Psychonauts may be able to join, and probably Jasper and stuff. So we're gonna have some fun playing some Division, and stick around for that. Check out that video that my wife posted on Twitter. She put it in there. It's freaking hilarious. And again, thank you, and thank you, Pong, as well, for taking that captain's chair when I was hoping you would, and helping making this show what it is every week, and consistent with it, because consistency is key with this. And if anything else, like, Pong Soul is like the model of consistency and energy. Like, I don't know how you do it, bro, but thank you always for everything you do to help support this channel and help us grow as well, man. So again, chat, you've been awesome. Pong, Do your
Yes,
whole
sir.
thing, bro.
Well, again, thank you all for being here on a very sad day. As I said in the beginning of the show, if you didn't see that portion, please go back and watch it. Because I was in mourning. But you know what? Just like any other thing, when there's a bad time, talking it out, talking with people that you love, having the support group around you to help you through those tough times is key in anything in life. And today was one of those days for me. And coming here and being able to share my sorrow with all of you and seeing a bunch of other people who were also in the same spot as me, and some people who had the optimism, the glass half full, which I normally am. That helped me out today. So thank you all for being here again. Mav, everything you do, brother, you know what you do. You built this kingdom over here as Fun Speculation. On top of dealing with real life stuff. It's not easy to do, brother, but you, day in and day out almost, are always putting out stuff. And you are such a gigantic member of this community now. A lot of people appreciate what you do out here, man.
Thanks, bro.
And it's just going to keep growing for you, man. And I'm just happy to be a piece of it. So thank you, brother, for doing this as well. And that captain's chair, as you said, I can't say enough about it. It's an awesome opportunity. But everybody, listen. All good things must come to an end. So please find me at Pong Soul on Xbox, on Twitter. You guys know the drill there. I'm not around as much as I used to be, but I'm still around. So get at me there. And then otherwise, tomorrow night, Xbox Ultimate. Don't know what time I'll be there. I'm going to try to make the start of the show this week. Going to really try hard. But Xbox Ultimate tomorrow night, right back here, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 o'clock Central Time. All good things green. Xbox Ultimate, you know the drill. We're going to go left. We're going to go wild. We're going to have big opinions. Join in just to find out how Lupa has decided to try to trigger me this week. Because again, now this is a weekly thing she's been trying to do to me. And now with the Starfield news, don't think she's not going to stomp all over my feelings tomorrow night, because she probably is. She's going to try to make me cry on air tomorrow night about Starfield. So join us there. And then Saturday morning, living split screen. My brother from another Steel Rain and I. Look, he has not had a chance to talk about this yet. He is not the biggest Starfield fan, so he's going to, a bit Bethesda fan, I should say. So he's going to come at it from a different perspective, but he's still going to have a lot to say. I know that because I've been in the DMs with him. So Living Split Screen is going to be live, raw, and uncut, as always, with a little bit extra spice on top of it this week. Buckle up, 3+ hours, probably 4, as always. Join us 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central Time. Living Split Screen. Split Screen's all one word. We are on mission 1K, so please tell a friend, bring a friend. Come on by. It's going to be a good time no matter what. And if you have to leave, come on back. We'll still be going. Don't worry about it. It's a great time over there. And then Saturday night, the Shop podcast will be on fire. PTK, Blam, Fuzzy, Belvedere, myself, we'll be joined by Silent Cypher. It's going to be, Brian, it's going to be an amazing show on Saturday night. We will end your Saturday the right way. A lot to talk about as well there. 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 o'clock Central Time, PTK Blam's channel, the Shop podcast, be there. Next week, Xbox Factor podcast, Mr. Boomstick's channel. Double Barrel Gaming is the channel. You know this. Mr. Boomstick, boom, one of the best in the business. Look, whether I'm there or not, show up every Tuesday because it's a great time. 12 p.m. Eastern, 11 o'clock Central Time. Mav, when he's available. Box a Burger, when his poor little kids aren't falling out of trees and breaking their arms, he'll be there. VJ, N64 Josh, and I, when I can. Again, it's going to be sporadic, but please show up. It's a great, great time over on Xbox Factor Podcast every Tuesday. Again, 12 p.m. Eastern, 11 o'clock Central Time. Back here next Thursday. Who knows what we're going to be talking about next week? Mav and I did not think we were talking about Starfield Delay. This gaming industry
is hot. We had a whole
hot.
Other show planned, you know.
We had a whole other show planned, but guess what? It don't matter. This takes precedence, right? So, but next week, who knows? Again, Sony could capitalize on this, come up with big news. Microsoft, Xbox could come out with some huge news to try to kind of cover this up until the showcase. Who knows? This gaming industry is ridiculous right now. It is the golden age of gaming, people. It really, really is. We love doing this because of it. This is what we live for. This is what we talk for. This is why we're here. This is why we all love you coming in and joining in that conversation. So please be back here next weekend. Play what you love what you play. I'm going to talk to you all real soon. Have a great rest of your night and have a great Friday, everybody. Nothing but love and respect. See you later, Mav. Get us the heck out of here, sir.
Yeah. Thanks everybody again. Appreciate you all, and have a fantastic day. Come check us out at Playing the Division just a little bit. Bye.